Thank you. First, let us begin with a message from our esteemed Vaidya Rajesh Koteja ji, Secretary, Ministry of Ayush. He wanted to be here personally, but due to scheduling conflicts, he shared his thoughts about Ayurveda conversation. Let's listen to him.
I am delighted to be a part of the Ayurveda Conversations Tadvidya Sambhasha event, celebrating the enduring value of Ayurveda in today's world. This ancient healthcare system has seen remarkable progress and recognition globally, owing to its personalized and holistic approach. Research and evidence-based validation have made Ayurveda more accessible to people worldwide. I personally admire late Padma Shri Sri P.R. Krishna Kumarji's visionary contributions to Ayurveda, which have left an indelible mark and paved the way for its integration into global healthcare. Events like this are essential as they provide a platform for insightful discussions and debates that challenge existing notions and define our understanding of Ayurveda. The focus on topics such as Ayurveda education, research, integration with modern medicine, and the use of technology and telemedicine in Ayurvedic practices is highly commendable. I am confident that Ayurveda Conversations, Tadvidya Sambhasha, will be a resounding success, igniting meaningful discussions and inspiring impactful initiatives for the advancement of Ayurveda and the well-being of humanity. I extend my best wishes to all participants and organizers of this event. Let's seize this opportunity to strengthen the Ayurvedic community, working towards establishing Ayurveda as a global system of holistic healthcare. Thank you. Namaste, Prasad.
Thank you very much, sir. It's a deep privilege to have your insightful words and thoughts on this event. Thank you, sir. Moving on to the first session of the day on the topic Telemedicine and Wearables and Ayurveda. I'd like to introduce your session chair for the session, Srimati Varalakshmi Venkatapathy. Ma'am is an educator, policy consultant, researcher, and yoga instructor, and is working in transdisciplinary research focusing on Ayurveda, yoga, technological interventions in health systems, policy proposals and science communication. She has been an expert in technical committee formed by Ministry of Ayush and Ministry of Women and Child Development. We welcome you, ma'am. We would like to welcome the moderator of the session, Abhimanyu Abjith, final year student, Ashtangam Ayurveda Vidyapeedam Eva Chikitsalayam. He has already given us an insight about the emergency yatra, so let's hear more from him. Thank you.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste. It's such a pleasure to be sharing the dais with such eminent personalities. Without wasting much time, I will start with the introduction of our phenomenal guests that we have for the panel discussion today. The panel discussion, as you would have seen, is Ayurveda, Telemedicine, and Wearables. So there's a lot of interesting things going on. I think we're also at the right juncture to talk about such a topic. And let's start with introducing our classical panelists, Vaidya Ritesh Gujarathi ji, who is a professor at G.J. Patel Institute of Ayurvedic Studies and Research. He's an academician and clinician experienced in Rogi Pariksha and its role in patient diagnosis and care. Sir, may I please request you to come take a seat on the dais. He has published about 4 books and 26 articles and attended more than 80 programs and seminars. His research includes a critical study of Sanket Manjari's commentary on Ashtanga Hridayam and an observational pilot study on managing obesity. We welcome you, sir. Next, we have with us a very senior Vaidya, Vaidya Vinay Vhelankar ji, founder and core committee member of Ayurveda Vyaspeeth National Organization of Ayurveda Acharyas. With 41 years of experience, he is a dedicated Ayurveda Panchakarma practitioner based in Dombivli. Over the past 35 years, he's been actively involved in traveling across Maharashtra and other regions, promoting awareness and publicizing Ayurveda. Namaste ji. In the contemporary side, we have with us Dr. Aniruddha Joshi, founder and CEO of Atreya Innovations, providing personal, predictive, and non-invasive health monitor based on data science-driven Ayurveda. We welcome you on dais, sir. He's a PhD in computer science. He has received the National Startup Award 2021 in the Ayush category, a special mention in Man Ki Baat by our very honorable Prime Minister Modi ji, Excellence in IT Award by Ministry of Ayush, or so to speak. He has about 3 patents and more than 45 papers in international journals and conferences. Was a CSIR fellow, research fellow for 5 years. We welcome you, ji. Continuing on the contemporary side, we have with us Dr. Pratap Chauhan, Ayurvedic physician, author, public speaker, TV personality, and the pioneer of Ayurvedic telemedicine. Founder and director, Jiva Ayurveda, that runs a network of 80 clinics all over the world, facilitating personalized treatments with an online Ayurvedic center and telemedicine practices. Started the world's first Ayurvedic website, jiva.com, in about 1995. Has about 20 plus years of Ayurvedic practice experience. We welcome you, ji. Next, we have with us Dr. Suhas Kumar Shetty, Principal and Medical Director at KLE Academy of Higher Education and Research, Sri B.M. Kankanavadi Ayurveda Mahavidyalaya in Belagavi. Welcome you on stage, sir. He's an MD in Ayurveda and PhD. He's an experienced practitioner, academician, researcher, and administrator with specialization in mental health, research methodology, medical statistics, and stress management. He has authored about 3 books and published more than 72 scientific articles in international journals. Received the Bishop 2018 Best Doctor Award and the Teacher of Year 2021 Award. Welcome you again, Ji. We have with us our very own Vaidya Rama Prasad Ji, currently heading the Education and Training Department at Vaidya Grama. I think he's running a couple of minutes late, so he should be joining us anytime now. So that said, with such a phenomenal panel and an array of speakers, we're really looking forward to this discussion. I'd like to start the discussion quoting a verse from Ashtanga Sangraham. Yuganu Rupa Sandarbho Vibhagena Karishyati. I'm sure all of you know the meaning, but just to very, very quickly translate that as the time changes, the science, the learner, the educator, all of them, they change with it, because that's the evolution, and that's something that we also look forward to. So they all go hand in hand. Such contemporary times look forward to contemporary solutions as well. With that note, I'd like to keep the eyes open for the eminent personalities to deliberate their, Purva Paksha view, wherein we have all your presentations if you require one. You may go on to explain your personal views, the point of view that you have with respect to Ayurveda in the field of telemedicine and wearables. Please be mindful of the time. That's a very sincere request from all of us. And you're all very, very senior people. So it's a little tough for us to also keep telling you. That said, on a serious note, 5 minutes is what is allotted for each of your Purva Paksha. Post that, if the talk still continues, there is an extra 1 minute, and then there will be a strong bell. Thank you so much. We really look forward to this discussion. Thank you. Let's start with the Purva Paksha of the classical Vaidyas. Vaidya Vinay Vhelankar ji, if you may.
नमस्ते, सुप्रभात। सभी को मनपूर्वक धन्यवाद और नमस्कार। अभी अष्टांग संग्रह का जो सूत्र बताया है, उसी का आधार लेके मैं इसके ऊपर कमेंट करना चाहता हूं। नाउ वी आर इन द 23rd सेंचुरी। विज्ञान युग कहा जाता है। आयुर्वेद का काल ईस्वी सन पूर्व 5000 6000, नॉट नोन एग्जैक्टली हाउ इट इज। सिनेरियो बदलते जा रहा है, तो हमें भी उसमें बदलाव लाने की आवश्यकता है। मुझे जो सब्जेक्ट दिया है वो आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस का आयुर्वेद में कैसे उपयोग हो सकता है, ऐसा है। तो कालानुरूप बदल जो है वो वी हैव टू एक्सेप्ट, लेकिन उसकी मर्यादा भी समझ में लेनी चाहिए, क्योंकि टेक्नोलॉजी है और अच्छी है, लेकिन उसकी मर्यादा भी हमें समझ लेनी चाहिए। तो आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस का अपने यहाँ कैसे उपयोग हो सकता है? तो डाटा एंट्री हो सकती है, पेशेंट की हिस्ट्री हो सकती है, त्रिस्कंद कोश का काम आपको मालूम होगा, हेतु, लिंग और औषध कोश बना हुआ है। सभी संहिताएं आजकल लैपटॉप मोबाइल में आई हैं। तो एक ही लक्षण हमें कितने व्याधि में देखने के लिए मिलता है, तो हम एक बटन क्लिक करेंगे तो सब उसकी जानकारी हम ले सकते हैं, उसके अनुसार डायग्नोसिस, उसके अनुसार चिकित्सा। लेकिन तर्क बुद्धि इस एपरेटस को नहीं है, तो ये हमें ध्यान में लेना चाहिए। तो तर्क बुद्धि का वापर तो हमें करना ही चाहिए। तो डाटा एंट्री होगी, सब रेफरेंस मिलेंगे। ट्रांसलेशन आजकल एनी भाषा में आप ट्रांसलेट कर सकते हैं, संस्कृत संहिता है, टीका है, लेकिन उसकी भी मर्यादा है, क्योंकि संस्कृत ये समृद्ध भाषा है, बाकी भाषाओं में उतनी समृद्धि नहीं है, तो उसकी भी मर्यादा हमें ध्यान में लेना चाहिए। तो ऐसे काफी सारे इसके फायदे भी हैं और नुकसान भी है। टेक्नोलॉजी में आजकल डायग्नोस्टिक टूल्स इतने निकले हैं। फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई विल गिव यू, गॉल ब्लैडर स्टोन के पेशेंट है, पुराने जमाने में इट मे बी पॉसिबल दैट वी हैव डायग्नोस्ड लाइक छर्दी, उदर शूल, बट नाउ अ सिनारियो आफ्टर सोनोग्राफी अपने को मालूम होता है कि स्टोन कहाँ है, इम्पैक्टेड है नहीं है, तो इट इज बेनिफिशियल फॉर अस, देन वी कैन डू द पिन पॉइंट ट्रीटमेंट। तो ये भी अच्छी बात है। दूर रहने वाले पेशेंट आप वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंसिंग 3D 4D इसका वापर करके आप उसके कनेक्ट हो सकते हैं, उसकी ट्रीटमेंट कर सकते हैं, लेकिन इसे भी मर्यादा है, क्योंकि पेशेंट डॉक्टर रिलेशनशिप जो है सबसे महत्व की बात, ये हम इसमें भूल जा रहे हैं। तो मेरा आप सभी से आग्रह है कि ये टेक्नोलॉजी का उपयोग तो हम करेंगे ही, करना ही चाहिए कालानुरूप उसमें, लेकिन उसकी मर्यादा ध्यान में रखकर अपनी जो आयुर्वेदीय बेसिक सिद्धांत है उसके ऊपर भी हमें ध्यान देना आवश्यक है, ऐसा मेरा सभी से अनुरोध है।
जी सॉरी, आप अगर जरा इंग्लिश में बात कर सकते हैं तो बी यूजफुल। A lot of them here can understand English compared to Hindi. It's a very kind and sincere request.
I will try, but easy to speak in Hindi. और मेरा आपसे अनुरोध है, हिंदी इज आवर राष्ट्रभाषा, वी शुड नो, but it is not a debatable point.
I understand.
Whatever possible,
it's
I
a very
can,
sincere request.
Yeah.
There are so many young, bright minds. So, for the benefit of them, it's a sincere request. Thank you.
Limitations of the technology we should take care, and how it can be implemented in our practice. This is our today's discussion point, I think. I will hand over the mic, Mr. Ritesh.
Now I invite Dr. Ritesh Gujarathi ji to present his Purva Paksha.
A very good morning to one and all present here. Respected dignitaries on and off the dais, distinguished co-panelists, and my dear co-learners. Let me thank the organizers for providing me the opportunity to be a part of this August gathering. Certainly, actually, I wanted to come here for 3 days, but unfortunately, I couldn't come. And whatever feedbacks that I have received from my students, they have enjoyed the sessions. So thank you, ma'am, for inviting me. Today we are part of this session, which is basically talking about Ayurveda, telemedicines, and wearable. I am here to represent the classical side, but let me be very honest from this side. Though I am representing a classical side, but I am a very strong supporter of technology. But after that also, whatever I am going to conclude, I'll share with you. Now, these 3 words are there. Okay, first we are talking about Ayurveda. Now, Ayurveda is what? It is? It's a science, basically, we are talking about, which is more than 5,000 years old. And after that, these technological advances we can see here. Telemedicines, which goes back to 18th century, whereas wearables, almost, I think my co-panelists are going to talk more in detail about these things, but it goes back to 13th century. Now, we must understand, as Varalakshmi ji has quoted, Yuganurupa Sandarbho Vibhagya na Karishyati. Ayurveda was never rigid. We are open, we were open. And the best example I would like to share with you, it is Samhitas. As we know, the teaching and learning of Samhitas was previously only, it was in verbal form. Then by 5th century, all the Samhitas are available in manuscript. By 20th century, all the Samhitas were available in a PC. And now in 21st century, all the Samhitas are available in a mobile. So yes, Ayurveda has accepted, the learners, the practitioners of Ayurveda has accepted the technology. But what is important? As the time passes, existing technology becomes outdated, and also it paves the way for new technology. So Ayurveda is a science which was there, which is there, and which is going to be there. But whatever technology we are talking about today, tomorrow it is going to change. So that is the biggest disadvantage of technology. technological advances can never challenge the very existence of traditional Ayurveda. So whatever technological advances are there, use it, provide the best services to the society. This is what we can do. Now, yes, this is in brief the history of telemedicine. Here you can see what is telemedicine. It is nothing but the use of telecommunication technology for providing healthcare. This is what telemedicine means. It goes back to almost 18th century, mainly radio and television. Main use of this technology was used in NASA, and almost in 2022, we have used this technology widely worldwide for COVID-19. Now, what is wearables? Again, wearable is something which is a technology which is to be worn, goes back to 13th century, where timekeeping devices were worn as pendant or kept in boxes. This is the history. Started in 1960 mainly, calculator watch. Then up to 2000, we started using Bluetooth headsets. Then 2010, fitness trackers were smart watches are available. By the end of 2020, wearable health technology was there. And now, smart clothing is there. So this is what technology is continuously changing. Now, this is what I would like to say. Telemedicine and wearables have certain limitation. As sir has already told, yes, we are supposed to use the technology, but we also should know the disadvantages of the technology and how negatively it is going to or adversely affect the practitioners. Now, what is conventional method? It is presence of physician with the patient at the facility while prescribing the medicine. So I am here to represent how this is better than telemedicine or wearables. I'll be sharing few references from Samhitas, basically coming from Samhita department. So I'll be sharing some references how conventional methods for diagnosis, prognosis and surveillance are safe, robust and most important, as you are students, it is not so easy. Yes, talking about the prognosis, as Acharya Vagbhat rightly tells in the first chapter, Saroshat Shame Dehe Yunha Punso Jitatmana Amarmago Alpa Hetvagra. Every patient who is coming to us, first we need to go through the prognosis. When the prognosis is good, then only we are supposed to start. And that is again not easy. If you are going for wearable technology or telemedicine, this is very difficult to go for a proper prognosis of the disease. Now talking about the assessment of Dosh Dhatu Mala Vruddhiksha Lakshanas, which are available in Ashtanga Hridaya Sutra 12th chapter, Malanam Ati Sukshmanam Durlaksham Lakshet Kshem. And yes, throughout Samhitas, we find the red flags where the author clearly tells, though the patient is there, though the physician is there in the same setup, then also sometimes it is very challenging for a physician to diagnose the disease. And that's why when they are there in the conventional setup, Ritesh, then also it is told.
It's almost time, so you can just speed it up and
complete it, fine. Sir. Again, few more references are there which clearly tells us that, okay, it is very difficult to diagnose the disease. Prognosis, this is about the classification of the diseases, where it is told that it is very difficult to classify these diseases when the patients are in, what we are talking about, telemedicines. Innumerable diseases are there, where it is told, Nana Rupai Asankhya, n number of diseases, n number of signs and symptoms, very difficult to diagnose through telemedicines and wearables. Yes, these are the red flags which are available throughout the Samhitas, but due to time constraint, I'll say Darshana Dehi Avihita. Throughout Samhita, these references are there, which clearly tells it is not easy. So in conventional setup, it is difficult. Now, what to talk about the technological setup? Yes, in Charak Samhita, yes, these shlokas are there, which clearly tells Gudalinga Vyadi Upashayanupshayabhyam, Pariksha Karenoy Kushla, Purusham Purusham Viksha. Now, everything, when we're talking about this surveillance, it is based on generalized. Whereas Ayurveda has a very personalized approach, so that's why conventional is better. Let me share these two more references from Sushruta Samhita and Ashtanga Sangra. Vimala Vipula Buddhe Akuli Kuryuhu. In conventional setup, it is more challenging. Telemedicine is very difficult. Yes, and now this is the last look that I'll be sharing with you. This compares all these things. Let me put it right this way. You can here see Group A, Marshanasya, Acha Snehapan, Kuti Praveshik, Anuvasan Basti, and traditional Ayurveda. It is difficult, but it has got more advantage as compared to all Ayurveda, telemedicines and wearables. So yes, all technological advancements like telemedicine, wearables have their own limitations. Conventional methods of diagnosis and patient monitoring are obviously robust. Conventional methods as recommended in classical Ayurveda offer most important privacy that we are going to debate here. Security of the data, continuity of the care, emergency care, and quality care, that is our ultimate aim, can only be provided through classical setup. In case of non-availability of conventional methods, yes, you can use the technology, but that should be second option, not the first option. Technological advancements can never challenge and substitute the classical Ayurveda methods for diagnosis, for monitoring, and almost for the treatment. Let me share this beautiful slok from Charak Samhita. Jnana buddhi pravishena yona avishati tattvavit. And technology cannot help us. Yona avishati tattvavit aturasya antaratmanam nasarogan chikisyati. So here there's a big lacuna with the technology. So thank you very much for sharing these details with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Vinay ji and Ritesh ji for presenting their Purva Paksha. Now let's go to the contemporary side. First, we have to invite Dr. Ram Prasad ji.
It's an honor to very quickly introduce Vaidya Rama Prasad ji, currently heading the Education and Training Department at Vaidya Grama, Ayurvedic coach and practitioner with 30 years of experience developing tongue diagnosis for health professionals. Trained at Coimbatore Ayurveda College during the 1980s, practiced the mind-body side of Ayurveda and developed gut-based protocol for a set of hard-to-treat diseases in Australia. Created a 5-element based Prakriti analysis and used it effectively as the key technique for his Ayurveda life coaching, career counseling, and business coaching. His study found that 1760 Ayurveda plants are native to Australia. Welcome, sir. We would very warmly request you to present your Purva Paksha for this panel.
Thank you very much. I should be standing on this side, right? Yesterday, the whole world was against me. Today, I think they're on our side, right? I think the whole world will have to be on our side. Do you know who invented telemedicine? The future is teleportation. We won't go there. We have television. Before that, it was telephony. Telephone. Ayurveda, we think Ayurveda started. We started doing telemedicine with the telephone. We started way before that. There's a technology in Ayurveda. Anyone knows this? Any student is into it? Never heard of it. Started 7 or 70,000 years back. According to the Australian Aboriginal people, 60,000 years back. It's called Dudha Lakshanam. Dudha Lakshanam is the messenger of the patient comes to the physician based on the time and behavior, the gestures of the messenger. The physician can diagnose, prescribe with precision, with great precision. Have you heard of that? Dutta Lakshanam? Have you done any research in it? No. Have you thought about it? No. You know, there's a slokam. What is it? Acharyal Padamadate. The best you can get from the college is quarter of what you need. Quarter of the wisdom. Quarter of the wisdom. That's it. Quarter of the information. That's it. If you're smart, you go to the next one. Padam Shishya Somedhaya. You start applying your medha, intelligence. Some people are even next level. Padam Sabrahmacharibhya. They start discussing it with like-minded people over a ginger tea or chukku kapi. We won't talk about that here. What's the difference between chukku kapi and ginger tea? It's the same. We just make you confused. Okay. So, do you get that? Acharya Padamadates, Padam Shishya Sumedhaya, Padam Sabrahmacharibhya. Intensive discussions with your colleagues, teachers, friends, anyone. That's all you need. Padam Kalakramenacha. Then you will evolve in it. So my job is to show you that Ayurveda is already started with a big point, Dudha Lakshanam. I think we need to start researching in Dudha Lakshanam. Now, there's another technique. There are many techniques. One of them, I'll show you how to do telemedicine with amazing accuracy, impressing the patient at the best possible level, diagnosing or understanding the patient in the disease the best possible way. how many techniques are you learning in Ashtasthana Pariksha? How many techniques are there in Ashtasthana Pariksha? You're sleeping in the morning. What is that? 8. No. The teachers can only teach you based on the syllabus. Your job is to explore further. Have you done that? No. Time to do that. There are at least 12 techniques in Ashtasthana Pariksha. At least. And back. Don't show them all the things. We got some secrets. See this one, vibration assessment. In Robert Subodha's book, he talks about the vibration analysis. I won't tell you, you need to read that book. Now, vibration analysis is used by American police. Dr. Bhattacharya will tell you more about it. European police use vibration analysis. You give them a scarf, a hat, or a shirt, or a pen of the person was using, belonging to the person, and this vibration analyst can touch it and tell you exactly where the person is, why is it he's missing, and so many things. So this is sparsham. Palpation is another one. Akriti, gait analysis. The patient sits down in front of you. You can give the prescription because you can assess the gait. There's one guy in the north of India. I'll reveal it maybe in a couple of years. He's there. Now, there are 12 techniques at least, and most of them are ready for telemedicine. Backward. One back. The best? Oh, okay. That's it? Okay. Among this, the tongue is ready for it. Iris is ready for it. Only thing is, have you learned it? Iridology is a big thing all over the world. Have you gotten into it? Iridology reveals almost everything. Life, not just body and health. Life. Tongue is the same. Nadi will be very soon on telemedicine. Venkatapathy will team up with an electronic watch company, and that's it. You can feel the 7 layer of Nadi, even 14 or 21 layers of Nadi very soon. Sorry? Oh. I know. I know. You can't feel the Nadi of a person far away, but with the electronic watch, where the pulse, yes. So these are absolutely ready. When I get a chance, I'll tell you how you use tongue in a consultation room in under 2 minutes to understand everything you want to understand about the patient. Ask me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ram Prasad ji. Now I invite Pratap Chauhan ji to have a spur of workshop.
Good morning, namaskar. First of all, thank you for inviting me to this great conversations. And by profession, I am a Vaidya, but people think I am some IT guy who is doing telemedicine. You know, technology is something which we need to understand. Technology is not bad, but how you use the technology is very important, you know. For example, you have a knife in your kitchen, you know. Knife can be used to cut vegetables, very nice job. Knife can also be used to murder somebody, you know, to harm someone, you know. So technology is same. So therefore, my take on this subject is, of course, technology is very useful, but the most important in this whole process is the Vaidya. The person who is using this technology is very, very important, cannot be replaced by anything. We can have a lot of gadgets, we can have a lot of technology, but ultimately the Vaidya is the final authority who has to decide what is the diagnosis, what is the prescription. And this is how I have done it. I believe that whenever we innovate something, it's something that we need. I started my small clinic in a garage. I had no money, so I had just one table and chair. 92, 94, I was invited to visit some European countries. Somebody sponsored my trip to go and teach there. And that's when my mind opened up, because I had one desire from the very beginning. After I studied from my guru for 5 years, I studied under a Guru Shishya Parampara after finishing my graduation. And he told me that you should spread Ayurveda, and my vision was Ayurveda in every home. So how is it possible? I am sitting in a garage in Faridabad in a small town. Nobody is going to come to me. So that's when internet was just starting. So now you can imagine a Vaidya thinking about internet. At that time, internet was available only in 5 IITs. And the entire bandwidth of India was 256 kpbs. Out of that, 128 kpbs was given to me with a radio link on the house. There was no connection through dialing. So I learned all the HTML and everything. So that's what I'm trying to motivate all the Vaidyas. How many of you have a mobile phone? Everybody. And how many of you use WhatsApp or chatting, Skype? So you're already doing telemedicine actually. You can't say that I'm against telemedicine or something, but you have to remember the main factor in this whole thing is the Vaidya. Don't forget it. Telemedicine can empower you, it can assist you, it can increase your efficiency, it can do a lot of things, but you have to very, very carefully understand that you are giving care to somebody, Your heart, your empathy, your compassion, that can be transmitted through phone, through video. It's not always necessary that physical presence is necessary. And Rama Prasad ji just mentioned about Duta. So when I started the telemedicine, I had no idea to do consultations. But then people, after reading my website, they started asking questions about their health. So I was in a kind of a dilemma. Should I do consultations? Then Dut Nadi actually came to my rescue. I saw that in the ancient times, there was a concept of Dut Nadi. I was reading one Nadi Vigyan book by Vaidya Satyadev ji, and he has described a lot of things about Dut Nadi. So they mentioned that they used to check the Nadi of the messenger, and based on that, the Vaidya will make a diagnosis. So I took it a little bit more, not so literally. I thought the messenger will bring the information, or even looking at his face and there were some auspicious or inauspicious things mentioned there. So based on that, I created a questionnaire. And then I also came back to our Shastra, and in Shastra there is Prashan Pariksha, there is Darshan Pariksha, and there is Sparshan Pariksha. So out of these three, 2 can be done definitely quite well through the telemedicine. So I created a questionnaire, and you'll be surprised that just a few years ago, we did a big data analysis of 650,000 patients, 6.5 lakh patients, all telemedicine patients. We did an analysis, and when we did the analysis of telemedicine patients versus our clinic patients, because we also have clinics all over India, the results were exactly same. I was very surprised. And this is how things evolved. I started an online school, 96, first online school. Then first time a video lecture, 97, which you cannot imagine now because there was no app. We had to go to a special studio in Delhi, and students were sitting in Tanzania and in Sweden. And out of that, a very interesting project came, which was called the Teledoc project. Because I was doing consultations with almost 100 countries through emails. Then I thought, how do I reach out to the rural people in India? So I created an app when there were no smartphones. The app is called Teledoc, a Java-based application. One boy was trained from the village. He will go on a scooter with that phone, and he will take all the information on the phone. That will come through GPRS to my computer, and next day the delivery go to the home delivery of medicines. This idea I copied from Domino's. So I thought if Domino's can deliver pizza, so why can't we deliver Ayurvedic medicines? And then, the real telemedicine that we developed around 2006. Now we have a data of 2.5 million patients. And of course, we have protocols, very interesting protocols that we have developed for diagnosis and a lot of other things, especially training modules for the Vaidyas. This is the most important thing I would like to mention. Technology is very useful, but it cannot replace the Vaidya. Vaidya is the core. Thank you.
Thank you, Pratap Chauhan ji. Now let's hear from Aniruddha Joshi ji's Purva Paksha.
Hi everyone. I'm an outlier here. I'm an engineer. I'm not a Vaidya. So, can you please run the slideshow, please? So we are talking about three terms here: Ayurveda, telemedicine, and wearables. And I say that the future is here, future is now. Gujarathi talked about different types of sensors. So by 2030, we are going to get surrounded by a variety of sensors, whether it's Google Glass, so many watches, in a belt, in shoe, in shirt, and so on. Telemedicine, Dr. Chauhan just talked about how he is doing over 2.5 million patients already. But of course, from government side, there is Sanjeevani Hospital at NSC and so on. So telemedicine is also in. And I need not say anything about Ayurveda. Ayurveda was there, as he rightly said, he was there, it is here, and it is going to be there. But then what can we do? What can Bharat contribute? Where we can actually make contribution to the world from the point of Ayurveda. So we are talking about personalized, predictive, and non-invasive system. So when we say personalized, is more towards, as Pratap rightly said, a questionnaire-based system at the moment, which helps to get the Prakruti and Vikruti and so many things. Of course, the Guru Shishya Parampara, there are so many rules which have been narrated. We are working very hard through data science to actually get different types of graphs, results, publications to prove those graphs. Prove in the sense in today's language of numbers, reports, and so on. And of course, we just heard about Ashtavida Pariksha and also 12 methods. But this is where we can actually contribute. If we can come up with various technologies in terms of either tabletop systems or wearables, which can actually encompass all of them, then it will really help the near future, which is about telemedicine, which is about wearables, which is about Ayurveda. Typically, it happens in three ways: finding a problem, tracking a problem, and fighting with the problem. So in all three of them, wearables have certain role, telemedicine has certain role, and of course, Ayurveda has certain role. So, of course, during the discussions, we'll go very deeper into that, how we are actually going to solve this through Ayurveda, through telemedicine, through wearable, but typically find, track, fight, and eventually give different types of medicines, diet, yoga, and so on. So that is how it is typically done. Let me quickly tell my journey. My father was not well. He got treated through Ayurveda. That's how I came into this field. And when I did my PhD from IIT Bombay, it was kind of rejected because Ayurveda is not considered as science. So in IIT Bombay, my thesis was not so well accepted. So that was the first trigger point that I have to prove in today's language. I mean, these people have proven, but I have to prove in today's language, and so that it can go further. So we started with about 100K data points. Now our patent is granted. Typically, the first product is called Nadi Tarangidi, which is a Nadi machine. And from 3 pressure sensors, you get Vat, Pitta, Kapha graphs, and you get multiple report cards. One for the doctor, one for the patient, one for the spa. Closer? Oh, this is better. Sorry. Should I restart? So technology is important, but how to use it is very important. So that we just proved it, right? So it gives multiple types of report cards, one for the doctor, one for the patient, one for the spa, one for gym, and so on. So different type of report cards, how different people can read the same nadi, can read the different parameters from the same report and cater to the users' patients. We are currently operational at 650 centers, more than 3 lakh patients, and so on. And very happy to tell we are on GEM. Through GEM, we are operational at 25 primary healthcare centers in Uttarakhand. We are still exploring, but there are 8 lakh healthcare centers in India. How to use that with respect to telemedicine? There are 5 lakh Vaidyas and 8 lakh centers. How do we really, make use of best so that we can cater to so many people? Happy to say that the product is IEC certified. We are going for CDSCO and so on, so that we can go to the world with this. With this, I will end. We have exported yoga in a way. Maximum people across the world are doing yoga. And the natural transition, whoever is doing yoga across the world is going to be Ayurveda. But they are not going to accept Ayurveda if it is not told to them in data format. For example, when we proved our results with respect to Rutucharya, Dinacharya, how moon cycle, Shukla Paksha, Krishna Paksha is different, how numbers come down on Ekadashi and so on. We have got a big project in Germany to prove their Rutucharya. Okay, so that is how we can take Ayurveda to Germany, to other portions of the world. We have to make sure that their seasons, their local food, their cultures, everything is incorporated the way we incorporated here in India and so on. So yes, we have exported yoga. Ayurveda is going to be the next. So the most favorable timing for technology in Ayurveda is now. With that, I will stop, but we'll discuss further during the discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Aniruddha Joshi ji. Now let's invite Dr. Suhas ji for his Purva Paksha.
Namaskar. Gurubhyo Namaha, as well as Google Gurubhyo Namaha, because this is a time probably we are more dependent on Google than our gurus. And definitely that is the whole idea why we are looking for the integrating of this technology into Ayurvedic academia, research, as well as clinical practice. We are talking about some of the buzzwords nowadays with the machine learning, artificial intelligence, chat GPT, then we have IoTs. So this is a time probably, though we always say that Ayurveda is one of the ancient traditional medicine, is undoubtedly the need to integrate the technology into this particular area of Ayurveda also. If we just look into the outcome of what just happened a couple of days back in the WHO Traditional Medicine Global Summit, and if you see, the whole focus was on Ayush digital innovations. And if you look at the whole outcome, what was given as a document or a roadmap, they were saying that there's definitely a growing consequence of the strategic and the innovative areas of using the technology into area of Ayurveda. And definitely it aligns with the concept of the philosophy of Vasudeva Kutumbakam, and also emphasis on the phrase that Sarvo Bhavantu Sukhinaha. So now we are just going ahead with so much of innovations, of course, with a lot of technology. In fact, I'll be sharing the experience that we have in our institution, probably one of the very first institution, an academic institution, where we were able to establish a department of Ayur technology way back in 2014. Later on, we were able to develop and come out with an incubation center. And because nowadays, the startups, entrepreneurship, commercialization, and how to use the technology. And that's where probably we started partnering with various other collaborative institutions like IIT Jodhpur, IIT Delhi, IIT Dharwad, and ICMR, and various other institutions where we started integrating. And I would like to definitely try to share a few of our experiences in all this, of course. Being again, traveling different countries, always I had this brief experiences of telemedicine, but thanks to COVID, that really it has exponentially increased the usage of telemedicines. And of course, we are also in a process of preparing few variables in the areas of Ayurveda, which I'll be trying to share in the few discussion time. But of course, we can always undoubtedly say that it cannot replace the Ayurvedic diagnosis, the precision diagnosis, as said by my classical counterparts. Definitely it is, but we have to use, because India is a country, or the globe, India especially, is a country where there are remote areas, and we want a healthcare system which should be accessible, affordable, and available. And if we have to fulfill this, definitely we need to take the help of this telecommunications. I would like to end saying that undoubtedly we are in the era of AI, which stands for artificial intelligence. But above all, we have Ayurveda intelligence and Acharya intelligence, which goes beyond this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Suhas ji, for your Purva Paksha, and thank you every one of these panelists for presenting their Purva Paksha. Now, whenever we have a doubt, whenever we are confused about a thing, we go back into Shastras, as we are Ayurveda community. So I kindly request Dr. Ritesh ji to please elaborate on the references that you had, and please elaborate what all that you had to say with your PPT.
So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to complete this, because yes, these are the references that strongly says, as co-panelists have already agreed. And before that, I would like to ask all of you, just raise your hand. If there are two options which are provided to you, that consultation is available when the Vaidya is there, you have to go there. First option. Second option, okay, Vaidya is there, but then also you have to opt for telemedicine. Which option you will opt for? Telemedicine or Vaidya one? Vaidya, that's it. I got my answer. Thank you very much. Okay. So yes, it can never be replaced. Okay. So yes, as whatever they have said, technology is certainly there. It helps us. So the combination of patient, Vaidya and technology is far better than only technology and patient. Okay. Now let me share these references with you. That, yeah, this one I already told you, na. Durlaksham lakshayat kshayam. When it comes to kshaya lakshanas, acharyas already clearly tell us that it is very difficult in the conventional setup. Now a patient who is 1,000 kilometers away, physician is sitting here, there's nobody, maybe some nursing staff is there, and if you want to diagnose these kshaya lakshanas, it is very difficult, very challenging. So technology is certainly, it is going to fail there. Then one more thing, yes, this one I would like to share. Kurvatehi ruchim dosha viparita samanayo. Continuous monitoring is required. And when we are interacting with the patient, whatever the desires, what are the aversions about his habits, that are very important. And in conventional setup, yes, as the patient is regularly visiting us, we can properly know about these things, and accordingly we can judge the vruddhi and kshaya lakshanas. But again, in the concept of telemedicines or wearables, that is very difficult, that I feel. Then yes, this kind of classification, now this is very unique, na? Nowhere is available. Dosha Vyadhi, Karma Vyadhi, and Dosha Karma Vyadhi. Okay, maybe telemedicine or wearables can help you with doshas vyadhis, but what about karmaj vyadhis? What about doshas karmaj vyadhis? It means telemedicines and wearables can only help you with 33%. In 66% plus 33, that is doshas, conventional setup is far, far better. Also, one more classification is there, Swatantra and Paratantra Vyadhi. Acharya himself says, Swatantraha spashta lakshanaha. Very clear cut, you can understand. But what about Paratantra Vyadhi? Aspashta lakshanaha. Again, very difficult. Conventional setup is far, far better than the technology. Yes, this is from Ashtanga Hridaya Sutra and 12th chapter. After giving the details of dosha vruddhi kshaya lakshanas, what Acharya says, that chaya prakop prasham is not only dependent on season. Chayadin yanti sadhyo api dosha kale api vanatu. So no, kal is not important. There are many more factors. So again, technology is not going to help there. Physician has to be there with the patient then only you can diagnose. After that, what further he says? Nana rupaihi asankhyayahi vikarahi kupitamala. Kupitamala, these aggravated doshas, leads to n number of diseases. And out of that, shakyam na ekasho vaktum. It is not possible for samhitakaras to give all the details. And that's why samanya muchyate. And what we are talking about, what sir has said, that is samanya, but samanya is very less. So our technology is going to be useful in a very small portion. Now, what about those signs and symptoms? What about those diseases which are not enlisted? For that, physician has to be there. Yes, these are the red flags I always call. Throughout Samhita, when we read, I always tell my students, yes, when these words are there, these are the red flags. It means physician has to be very focused. And the word is darshanadyahi avahitaha. Very attentive. When you are with the patient, there are chances of errors. And that's why very attentive. Pashyan arthan pratikshanan 24/7. If the patients are available in the IPD, 24/7 monitoring is good. Then, what about those diseases which are not available in Samhita? The concept of Trivida Bodhya Sangra, which is available in Charak Samhita Sutrasan, 18th chapter, Vikara Prakritihi, Adhishthanantarani, Hetu Visheshascha, and most important, where technology fails, Shighram Kuryat Upakramam. When the physician is there, immediately he can assess, immediately the treatment can be provided, but the technology lacks here. One more reference. Sukshma Sukshmaha Samiksha Esham Dosha Aushadha Nirupane. After the beautiful quotation which is available in Ashtangrude, Dushyam Desham Balam Kalam Analam Prakrutim Vaya Sattvam Satmam Tataharam Avasthascha Prutakvida. After that, what he says, Dosha Aushadha Nirupane. When you want to conclude which doshas are involved, when you want to conclude which medicine has to be given, Sukshma Sukshmaha Samiksha. Very minute details are required, and here technology has got limitations. Yo vartate chikitsayam nasas khalati jatuchit. If you follow this, then only you are going to properly treat. Otherwise, there are chances of errors even in conventional setup. One more reference. That is the concept of Guru Vyadhi and Lagu Vyadhi, which is strongly based on Sattva Deha Bala Balat. Again, the words comes Tasmin Avahito Bhavet. Here again, there's one more red flag. Very cautious. Though patient is there, you assess Sattva Bal, Deha Bal, as well as Vyadhi Bal. Then only you can properly treat. Further, Ato Abhikta. When we talk about wearables, the best advantage of wearables is continuous monitoring. So that's why Ato Abhiyukta Satatam Sarvam Alocha Sarvata. But again, I'll say, though technology helps, but if I have got a first option where physician is there, I'll opt for that, as you have already agreed with this. Then, yes, Purusham Viksha, as sir has already said, yes, if patient is there, and yes, when we are talking about extending this Nadi Tarangi and everything worldwide, if the data is coming from US, sir, it is very difficult to apply the conclusions in India because climatic conditions are different, food habits are different. So technology will give you the data, but physician has to be there for properly analyzing and to use it. So the technology is good, but the user plays a very important role in that. Pariksha karino hi kushala bhavanti. And yes, there are very limitations for pariksha with this telemedicine and wearables. And if you want to kushal, if you want to be successful, go for conventional setup. Esha pariksha nasti anya yaya sarvam parikshate Charak Samhita Sutrasan 11th chapter. After giving Aptopadesh Pratyaksha and Anuman, what he says, Esha pariksha nasti anya, you cannot use only one pariksha. You have to be there. You have to use all the pariksha. Now, what to talk about all these technological advances where a very limited scope of examination is there. Certainly, it has got its limitation. We all know the beautiful quotation from again Vimansan, Gudalinga Vyadhi. Again, one more red flag. It is very difficult to diagnose. Upashay, Anupashay is required. So, patient has to be there. Physician has to be there. Technology again is very difficult way. And yes, lastly, these two references. First, you can see this is about medicine. Dravya Rasa Guna Virya Vipaka Dosha Dhatu Malashe Vimala Vipula Buddhi. Though expert physician is there, then also it is very challenging for him. One more same reference from Ashtanga Sangra. Dosha Aushada Dushya Kala Bala Anala. Further he says Vimala Vipula Buddhim Chikitsakama Akuli Karyu. When you have got extraordinary physician, then also the diagnosis, the prognosis, and the monitoring is challenging. Now, what to talk about where the physician is not there, where the paricharak is not there? Certainly, it has got its own limitations. Yes, actually, I had to finish this presentation only within few minutes, and that's why very few references I have taken. But otherwise, throughout Samhitas, such references are available vividly, and which clearly tells conventional setup is far, far better. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ritesh ji, for telling us about the Samhitas, what the Samhitas had to speak to us about on this topic. So, we also know about Darshana, Sparshana, Prashnehi, Parishedacha, Roginam. We also know the importance of each one of them. Now, let's hear from Pratap Chauhan ji on what he has to say to this.
So, I already mentioned that Vedya is very important. But let's be very practical. Let's be honest. Sir has explained very nicely what is mentioned in the Shastra, how it should be. But let's get into our heart and soul and ask questions to ourselves. How many of us are ready to actually practice this type of, diagnosis? Do we have even a quiet mind to at least even just to check the pulse of the patient, what to talk about, understanding the karmas, vyadhi and other things? That's a quite meditative technique. So I'm again coming from the practical aspect. When we started the telemedicine, and of course, when we came to this, the problem came that a lot of people, we realized ourselves that these people cannot be done consultation through telemedicine. So we started opening clinics. So we have around 80 clinics all over India now where people can physically also, and we can invite them physically. But the problem even in physical as well as telemedicine we faced is that our doctors were not trained in the Shastric way of diagnosis. So that's where technology came into our help again. What we did is based on the Shastra. For example, I give you a very common example. Somebody walks into your clinic even physically, and says, I have a joint pain. Now, most of the doctors, as they hear the joint pain, immediately some Gugulu is coming in their mind, Yogaraj Gugulu, this Gugulu or this. But that's not Ayurveda, Ayurveda, you have to go to the root cause. So what we saw the problem is, because we developed a lot of training modules for the doctors. So we saw that the problem is the doctor is not even trying to think Ayurvedic way. So I thought, what is the difference between this fresh Vedya and a very popular Vedya, maybe somebody who is very popular? What's going in the head of that Vedya when he's checking the patient versus this Vedya? So that's where technology came in, and technology could solve this problem. We took the Shastra, for example, this knee joint pain, we have to at least find out whether it is Ama, Sama, Nirama, which condition is this. So we created protocols. Again, technology. We took the data. We also took some basic principles from the Shastra, put it into a program, and where algorithm was created. Like you go to Google, you search something, so then it pops up. Similarly, so when the patient says I have joint pain, so the Vedya will ask one question, and if the answer is yes, the computer will pop up the next question. And we were very surprised that after the Vedya started using the protocols, the diagnosis became like almost 50% better. They were able to pinpoint whether it is Vata or Pitta or which dosha is. So I think again, my strong belief is we have to go the integrative way. That's the way forward. We should not just discard the technology completely. And of course, I'm not saying from the very beginning that our Shastra is to be discarded. Shastra is the base. That is where, but we can use Shastrik Nirdesh. We can take all the Nirdesh or the instructions from the Shastra and try to understand what is the problem we are trying to solve. See, for me, technology is an enabler. Technology is a problem solver. So that's where we created these protocols, our outcomes were much better. Of course, final authority is still the Vaidya. Even whatever the computer is telling, they have still the final authority. So that's what my take is, that it should be more integrative approach. Thank you.
Okay, Suhas sir.
So to add what Pratap sir has mentioned, see, basically we are looking at what is idealistic and what is realistic. So we always sometimes have to think that with so much of dimensions and so much of geographical variations. I'll ask one more question to the audience. Like for example, there's a patient who is there in very remotely in a rural India looking for a help for some medical issues. Whether you wait for some Vaidyas to go there or whether you'll take the help of telemedicine. Yeah, I got the answer. Thank you.
Just one minute. I will add this is something interesting and practical I'm sharing. I was doing some consultations in Mumbai, and one patient came, and I said, we have a clinic just next to your. No. I don't want to go to the clinic. Your telemedicine is very nice. We can be at home. We have good consultation, and medicine comes home. So it's also again perspective of the many people today. They also think like they will save time, they will not have to go there. But again, not to just disrespect the Vaidya.
Thank you, Pratap Chauhan. Now let's, although we know that the importance of Darshana, Sparshana, Prashnahi, and as Pratap Chauhan and Suhas said that how it can give an aid to these things. So now let's hear the perspective of Vinay Vhelankar ji. How it is giving assistance, or what is his experience on that?
Basic principles are our treatment. First,
sir, it's okay if you can speak in Hindi. I can.
Basic principles are of our treatment. First is Darshana Sparshana Prashnehi Parikshetartha Rogena. What about the Sparshana Pariksha? First, Artaha Putravat Upakramya. This is our motto. In our technology, how we can see this point? And Purusham Vikshet. That is the most important, that Ritesh has covered the point. And another point, in our time, all Samhitas in our mind. For example, Jwaro Vivaranataha Shulam Radrogaha Sadanam Rama Bhakta Dvesho Atisaras Sanjata Krumi Lakshanam. हमें ध्यान में है, पेशेंट आने के बाद वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू सर्च ऑन मोबाइल और लैपटॉप, और whether it is in your mind, immediately you can diagnose the patient and you can treat the patient. So basically I have to express that these 4 basic principles of Ayurvedic treatment, we should think about it.
Yes. Now let's hear from Ram Prasad ji about his perspective.
Thank you. Can I play the slides, please? Finally, they're giving us some fight, right? Finally. If I teach these guys how to do teleconsultation properly, they'll be hooked totally. Because it's more satisfying, easier, saving money for the patient and them making more money. I'll tell you how to do this. I'll use the little control. Thank you, brothers. So, how many of you want to give the best service to your patient? Raise your arm. Thank you. Drop them now. Few people didn't want that. Okay. How many of you want to do the best diagnosis? A couple of people are still confused. Thank you. And how many people want to give you the best treatment? Now getting better. But without the diagnosis, you're not going anywhere. Okay. How many of you want to keep in touch with the patient and you want to update them regularly without even moving your finger? Like every few days, they get a message from you. How are you going? How's your diet working? That kind of stuff. How many of you want to do? She doesn't want. 199 people want it. Okay. Thank you. Now, this is a new technology. Ritesh beautifully said, limitation. I like that word. Show me something on this planet, don't know about, without limitation. Fish can't fly. Train can't go on the road. I mean, you can see the limitation everywhere. We are working with the limitation, with whatever we can do. So, I mean, all of them are using technology. We are just saying we can do better. We can do more. This is all. So let me show you how a consultation goes with the tongue, the Jihva Pariksha. So these are the 12 things you need to learn about Jihva Pariksha. 11 aspects, 11 criteria, and the tongue with the body map on it. Easy. There are a few little things you need to learn before and after. That's it. 16 hours, you learn everything about tongue analysis. And over the next few hundred tongues, you're getting level 1 mastery, and few more 100 tongues, you're a master. That's it. Now, a patient, I was waiting for the consultation at 8 o'clock in the morning on my veranda, overlooking my garden, and a tablet is there, phone is there, laptop is there, normal things. And I was looking at the tongue of this patient when he called me. Let's call him Sunil. Sunil calls me, "Hi, Dr. Rama, how are you doing?" So I opened a photo he has sent me while he was booking the consultation with his contact details. So I opened the tongue, I can see that. And so you need to remember, this is the body map on the tongue. So I'm looking at the tongue, what's wrong? I can clearly see a few spots. A few spots are very clearly seen. Screen is not that high in resolution, so forgive me for that. So I can see the little issues. Can you see the issues? Cracks and discoloration, bulging and dips and that kind of stuff. That's all we need to know. I'm going to show you the basics. So I got the spots, damaged spots, issue spots, and then I'm going to write down all these things. It's all in my head, right? The left hip has got a problem, the lymphatic system, neck, brain, gastrointestinal canal, liver. I got the Dushyam. What's Dushyam? Sapta, what's that? Dashavida Parisha. Dushyam. There are two things you need to know in the Dashavida Parisha clearly, and they are tissue states and Agni. Dushyam, Desham, Balangalam, Analam, Analam. You can see them very clearly here, and I interpret them into left hip is pulled, rotated forward, bulges means fluid congestion, and dip means this insufficiency. Neck is pulled to the left, so there's neck issues, sleep, cognitive. So I write it down in my head, and then I figure out the connection between biochemistry and biomechanics. Large intestine weakness causes left hip tension. Stomach acidity causes neck tension. Stomach muscle issues cause middle back tension. There's a connection between biochemistry and biomechanics. And I translate that into subconscious stress. This is Charaka's technology. Charaka talks about the mind-body medicine in the most precise way. At least he started. Then you lost interest. So he started talking Panchakarma, and you're all in it. Okay. So here, I can read his subconscious stress, and Sunil is going, how do you do that? It's a wonderment. I don't need to answer that question. It's not a question. And I extract this. I extract these points and then put them into a list. We got the pathogenesis. And that can be translated into line of treatment. Put the line of treatment on one side and give the prescription, because once you know it is, the treatment needs Sharaka Valkaranam with Tikta Kashayam, Madhula, all those things. It's all you already learned. You need to put this together. That's all. And the whole thing is done. The consultation is done in under 5 to 10 minutes. But I'll just extend it to listen to the stories and struggles and issues and excitement to make the consultation better. make him feel better, to connect better. That's it. You get the same kind of accuracy as a pulsologist can. That's it. So this is a technology already there. There are so many techniques like this already existing. We haven't explored. Doesn't mean there's no technology. Technology has limitation. Doesn't mean we don't want to use it. Of course, physician is the center of the whole healing process. We are not removing him or her. How do we do that? So you can assess. You can assess the health. A patient comes the first consultation and the second one. Can you see any improvement? What sort of improvement? The taste buds are back. 6 weeks it took, and the patient's tumor markers dropped from 10,000 to 4,000. Forget about the treatment, but you can see that on the tongue. In this case, patient said on the second consultation, no improvement. I'm saying,
Ram Prasad ji, it is very interesting.
Yeah,
now let's have a discussion on it. I think so.
Fantastic.
Like this is very interesting, and I think so. This they have a lot of inputs on what you have just said it, and it's really interesting that you just put out how to do it and how technology doesn't interfere in the common practice. And let's hear from their perspective and what limitation does they see, or what are the advantages that they see from this. Vinay ji or Ritesh ji, please.
Okay, thank you. As in the beginning of my presentation, I clearly told, I strongly recommended use of technology. But the problem here is we are not debating technology versus conventional. Here we are using use of technology in telemedicine and wearables against the conventional setup. Now, let me give you one more example how technology paralyzes us. Like 20 years back, I had almost 10 phone numbers I could easily remember. In case of emergency, landline numbers were there. Immediately, I can call. Now, there are more than 1,000+ numbers which are available in my mobile. But in case of emergency, if my mobile is not there, I'm paralyzed. Because I don't remember. So this is how technology makes us more dependent. Now, let me share with you one article which was published in 2008. And since that is republished now. Just a minute. This article, I think you might have seen, Hyposcalia, Deficiency of Clinical Skills, published by Dr. Herbert Alfred. And it was published in 2008 in the journal Athletic Training Education Journal. Now let me quote him. What he says, the bottom line is this: while modern medical technology has greatly enhanced our ability to diagnose and treat disease, it has also promoted laziness, especially mental laziness among, just a minute, among many physicians. Habitual reliance on sophisticated medical gadgetry for diagnosis prevents physicians from using, now just listen it, the most sophisticated, intricate machine they will ever and always have their own brain. So ultimately what happens when you become dependent, you stop using your own brain. And as sir, everybody has agreed that Vaidya is the most important. Okay, one more example let me give you. Previously, if you go back to maybe 20-30 years back, even there are Vaidyas in Kerala who remembered entire Ashtangradayam. They are far, far better than all those Vaidyas like me who have all Samhitas in their mobile. So what is important? Everything should be in your head. When you are with the patient, that setup is far, far better than taking the advantage of technology. So I am not against technology. I am against becoming, because what happens when you started using, in the beginning, it looks very good because it is helping me, but after some time, gradually we become more and more dependent. And there's a line that we need to draw, that where I need to stop. So that is the problem with the technology. So again, I am telling here, we are not debating Ayurveda against technology. Yes, I have already told you Ayurveda, that is patient, physician and technology versus patient and physician. Technology always helps. So I think everybody who is sitting in the hall will agree technology helps. But now when it comes to telemedicines, wearables, there are limitations, what you have already told. So thank you, I think, from my side.
I think Dr. Joshi already is up with an answer. Probably post that we'll have our specific questions. Yes, sir.
So, as he rightly said, previously he used to remember 10 numbers, and in emergency he could talk to one of those 10 people. And now because of technology, now he has 1,000 contacts. And now if he has the phone, he can talk to 1,000 people. That is exactly what technology enables, the scale, basically. You can reach out to as many people, even in the remotest places. Slightly different perspective. What we are missing here is that, let me give you 2-3 different examples, okay? One, I'm very, very, very influenced by Steve Jobs, okay? So when he launched first iPhone, people asked him, you're a software guy, you're a person who designs UI, and you want that. Why are you developing hardwares? So he said that I'm really, really serious about my software. So that's why I'm creating my own hardware, because then only my software will run. The existing hardwares are not capable of displaying or showing my kind of designs, my kind of creatives, my kind of software. So in a similar way, Ayurveda is very complex, all right? We already saw so many shlokas, and it's very complex. So we cannot imagine today's existing wearables or existing technologies helpful for such complex systems. I mean, I'm always asked, why are you not using iWatch? Why are you not using Fitbit? Why are you not using existing wearables or the phone camera or the pulse oximeter to get the pulse and do the same Nadi Pariksha? The Nadi Pariksha is so deep, it is not available on this watch. I have to make sure that I have to go deeper. I have to understand what Ayurveda says. I have to understand how Vaidyas actually feel, the sensation, and so many things, and then replicate. So believe me, in next 20 years, we saw 8 methods, 12 methods. When we understand those methods from Ayurveda point of view and develop technologies and wearables for those 12 methods, understanding the domain expertise, then it will be more useful, all right? Having said that, even in today's technologies or today's form factor, whatever we have, which is with respect to mobile, just mobile, let's say, let's not, we just saw about Jiva Pariksha, the tongue-based analysis. So we did a very, one experiment with 2,000 people back in 2019. We had an app called Tongue-Fi, okay? We always take selfies of ourselves in different angles and so on. So what we asked those 2,000 people is, take selfie of your tongue, which is Tongue-Fi, every day early in the morning, as soon as you get up, before even brushing your teeth. And we analyzed those for about a month. Another example, I'm sure there are so many youngsters, they will remember 4 years ago, on Instagram, there was something called 10 years challenge. So you were supposed to post your today's photo. One more minute, I'll just take one more minute. Please allow. So, and 10 years back. So we downloaded such 500 photos and we checked which ratios on those faces are not changed across 10 years. What is not changed, okay? Something like that. So you have to really challenge yourself from technology point of view, how you can implement the shlokas, the sanhitas, the brain of the Vaidyas. And okay, I will stop. Just last statement. Very interesting debate. All 6 are saying technology is important, but Vaidya is very crucial. There is no debate as such. But the only debate is, as you rightly said, whether we can do it right now in conventional setup or not, how much we should do it, how much not. In Marathi we say ahari jana. I don't know the English word for that, but ahari jana is basically
it's like surrendering almost.
Surrendering. How much are you surrendering to the technology and how much you are really using your brain? Maybe if time is allowed in the next session, I'll actually explain. I mean, he has done 2.5 million. We have done just 5,000 on our own. But from those 5,000 people, we really have unique cases which would have not happened in the conventional setup. I'll stop right now, but please give me time afterwards to explain how really technology helps sometimes. Thanks.
As very rightly put, technology definitely is very value agnostic. So it's all in our hands, in our individual responsibility to sort of drive the whole movement in a very value positive side. But that said, let's look at technology even layer by layer. When we talk about specifically diagnosis, we spoke of prognosis, diagnosis, and surveillance. We spoke about three aspects with respect to Ayurveda as a system of medicine, number one. And we also spoke about the diagnosis measure being done via, sparshana, prashna, and darshana. Let's say, for now, let's not talk about wearables. Let's talk only about telemedicine. There is still scope for darshana, there is still scope for prashna. So we're just making it a bit, we are bringing things into a certain context so that we will, this is how we get into deep conversations and we sort of try to understand the multiple parameters that we are operating in. So that said, considering only that aspect of telemedicine in Ayurveda, not talking anything about wearables right now. So what would be your views specifically? I would definitely would like to listen from the classical side to start with.
Okay. So now we are like focusing only on telemedicine. Fine. As sir has already said.
For now,
okay.
Just to put things into perspective.
As both the speakers have already told that they have got a big data. Okay. But now Shetty sir is there. He has a very good command in research. Now Kishore Patwardhan sir is there. Now we all know that there is a paradigm shift from quantitative to qualitative. Previously, all we are talking about is quantitative research. But now I think medical field has also understood that quality is far, far better than quantity. So when I say that, okay, I have a machine or I have a data which is very much useful for 95%, what about those 5%? Where it is not useful, where it is not working. So it means comprehensive, which qualitative research is far, far better than quantitative, because quantity can give you the data, but it is not applicable for everybody. Whereas quality is something which focuses on everything. One more thing, when we are talking about AI, specifically telemedicine, few years back, yesterday also we were talking about that, when everybody, the world was talking about AI, n number of articles are published. Everybody considered it as a boon. Oh, very good, very good. Now we have got alternate option. And now suddenly you see last 1.5 years, everybody says, no, we don't want AI. So this is the reality. So the biggest disadvantage with technology is that today it seems as a boon, but tomorrow it can be very dangerous. And that's why now coming to specifically telemedicine, just let me share the limitations of telemedicine. First is limited physical examination. Because conventional setups, whatever Ashtavida, Dashavida, whatever parikshas which are recommended in Samhitas, that is far, far better. But limited physical, telemedicine lacks the ability to conduct hands-on physical examination. Okay, so that has, conventional setup has got upper hand. Certain medical conditions may require physical contact and assessment by a healthcare professional. Generally, technology is helpful, but when we are talking about those rare conditions, there are limitations for the technology as well as telemedicine, so which might not be possible through telemedicine. One more thing, there are barriers for technology actually. For example, not everyone has the access to necessary technology. That's the biggest disadvantage. Now, here also, like we are almost only maybe 50 kilometers away from Coimbatore, it's a big city, but then also we are facing issues related to coverage. Now, when we are talking about telemedicine and everything, which is almost based on internet, and when we are talking about providing services to the remote person, now let me share one more experience. 2 months back, as an NABH assessor, I had the opportunity to visit very remote HWC centers in Rajasthan. Now that center was so remote that whatever the data feeling, the physician has to climb a hill for 1.5 kilometer. He will go there, then he will feed the data, and then again he will come back. So that is so technology, there is a barrier with that. So not everyone has the access to necessary technology for telemedicine consultations, and this has been a significant disadvantage, particularly when we are talking about advantages. Sir has said rural area, but yes, there are very limited scope of technology in rural areas or even low income areas. Technology comes at a cost. So you have to pay that cost. Whether, not talking about the world, whether Indian society is ready to pay for that cost, that's a big question. Where reliable internet connections or compatible devices may be lacking. One more thing, most important, sir was telling me yesterday, lack of personal connection. Lack of personal connection. If I am if a physician is there, I have been regularly consulting maybe for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. He is not there. Somehow he has gone somewhere else. I have visited the hospital. He told me, okay, my students are there. Okay, my son or daughter is there. You just go and take the consultation. In the first instance, I am somewhat reluctant. Even for a time being, I have taken the treatment. But as soon as the physician comes, again, I would like to go back to the conventional setup. So that confidence is only there when the physician is there. So lack of personal connection. So telemedicine can sometimes that lack the personal touch and human connection that in-person visit provides. When you go there, 50% of the complaints are really, okay, I have reached the hospital, 50% now I am in the safer hands. So that telemedicine, there are limitations for that. Establishing a strong patient-doctor relationship may be more challenging when communication is primarily, what sir has told, through video and audio. No doubt, it can provide good help to the patient as well as doctors. But again, these are the limitations. Even there are diagnostic limitations. Like in some cases, diagnosing complex medical conditions might be more challenging through telemedicine. All the diseases, even when we are facing problems for those diseases which are available in Samhitas, now what to talk about those diseases which are not available in Samhitas? We don't have data. One more thing, when we are talking about telemedicines or wearable, it is mainly based on the data gathered. But again, we can come across with those conditions where such kind of data is not recorded. And if you want to diagnose that patient or if you want to treat that patient on a data which might have collected maybe from lakh or 10 lakh of patients, but you cannot guarantee that it will be the diagnosis will be 100% true, correct, and the proper treatment can be given. Okay, so that is my submission. Thank you.
Yes, sir. You have rightly pointed out very much importance. And we know that there are many limitations also while doing telemedicine. And the body, when we are treating the body, it's difficult. And we know treating mind is far more difficult. Yeah. And we have Dr. Suhas sir here who has been treating mind in telemedicine. So let's hear from him, his perspective on that. Please, Suhas sir.
So these are the disadvantages of technology. So you cannot rely on technology.
Yeah, it is not a problem with technology, it's a problem with me. Anyway, Dr. Ritesh has mentioned various challenges that we have with the telemedicines. Undoubtedly, there are limitations and challenges, but there are a lot of advantages as well when we talk about telemedicines, because we need a patient-centric approach where it is accessible and affordable. And at least if not for diagnosis like compliance of medications, follow-ups, those where we may not need some active examinations, definitely we can do that. Those who are disabled, and especially for follow-up of the patients. And those where probably, like elderly, children populations, sometimes definitely we can use the technologies. So how do we capture this data? See, basically, as you mentioned about the 2 types of data. So one, of course, is the quantitative and qualitative data. And of course, the qualitative data can also be gathered with the help of telemedicines. So how exactly we capture all this data? And that is why probably my suggestions to the young generation would be to kindly look into the phases, how exactly the data are captured and how data are actually analyzed, and what do you mean by the data science. The basics of data science is very, very important, especially the big data analysis is very important, and how the use of technology can be used in transforming this data into outcomes. See, basically it has 4 steps. So initially, when you start the data capturing, start with just collecting the data, which is called as a descriptive methods of collecting the informations, where you're just trying to get it is just a descriptive informations or just information at the very basic levels. Then the next level is the exploratory way of gathering the informations, where you're trying to develop some associations of these data. Later on, you go to the analytics, where probably you're trying to analyze an outcome, how like the patterns, the algorithms are being analyzed. And then probably you come out with the prescriptive methods of data analysis. So this is how the telemedicines are been, how you generate, or you want to use a variables or anything. That's how you generally start with. The problem with Ayurveda would be there is a lot of variabilities. Especially it is not just the inter-person variability. The intrapersonal variability is the biggest challenge that we have with the telemedicines in Ayurveda.
So I think since we are talking about telemedicine, right?
Let me just add one more point. To whatever you're going to add, sir. We've also had a question specifically from the audience with respect to the quality of data in Jihva Pariksha. Since you've had such a huge ton of data with you already, we were also wondering if you could show some light along the lines of how do you manage the data quality, especially the picture quality and all that. But whatever you were about to address.
So first about the telemedicine, as Suhas sir also mentioned, that accessibility is one very important benefit of that. See, many times you may be sitting here in Vaidyagram or Saranya and you are accessible to the whole world. Yesterday, Piyush was telling me that, oh, I got an order from France. So you are actually accessible while you are sleeping. People are writing you emails or filling out your consultation forms. This is a great advantage of that, which is not possible if you have a physical clinic. Only some people can access you. And definitely, if you go into like the convenience, you go into the cost and other time saving, cost saving, reduced cost, efficiency also increases. I have seen like when we were doing manual documentation and when we started the whole technological documentation was very fast, very easy, and referring to various things. As sir also mentioned, that Samhita has to be in your brain. See, in telemedicine, there is one benefit. You can do a consultation. You are not going to write a prescription immediately. You can do a consultation, take all the notes, then you can go back to your Samhita, refer to your thing. Many times we do it. Many times it's not immediately possible to analyze everything. So there are all these benefits are there. Regarding the data, as the question came, see, originally when we started documenting the cases, our purpose was not that we're going to do some research on that. Our purpose was how our doctors can capture the data for their own follow-up. Next time when patient comes, he has to see what was my last conversation, because they're dealing with thousands of patients. We're doing at least 6,000 consultations every day. So, but recently, very interestingly, we have found that the data is quite usable even for publishing. Just, I think very soon you will see that many of our data, the case studies, they will be published in a research project that is undertaken by Ayush Ministry and Amrita University together. So we have submitted some of our case studies there, and they're saying this is perfect data. They actually guided us a little bit, but very small things. So I would say up to 80%, 90%, the data is quite good. And we have also improved. Originally, we were doing some simple data collection. When we published the big data analysis, we brought in the CSIR people, the former DG was our principal advisor. We brought in some modern medicine doctors on our team, and they guided us to just fine tune the data. So now we have a very, very nice curated data which can be used for research purposes.
Thank you, sir. Actually, That is one of the main point that you highlighted. One of that point was that you can come back to the patient and suggest the medicines. Sometimes as a student, from the student's perspective, we always have this difficulty in our mind when we are in practice. We'll have that fear in our mind that what if our prescriptions are wrong? So I think so that telemedicines have some advantage in that, and Vinay ji having that much experience can shed some light about it. And also one thing I want to say is that after Vinay ji, we also want to have it so that everyone is refreshed also.
Just can I, Abhimanyu?
Yes.
Just answering your fear. See, whatever we have developed has come out of all these fears. So when the Vaidya is sitting in front of the computer and when he's writing a prescription, many people don't know what is Arogya Vardhani, what is ingredients, they don't know. So we have created a Saraswati knowledge bank, which is accessible right on the desktop of the so if you have any doubt, you just punch in Arogya Vardhani. It's going to give you all what is the ingredients content. And very recently, when the patient writes, the doctor writes a prescription, we have another technological intervention that we have created. Suppose somebody has a Pitta disease, and by mistake he has put in the prescription something which has some Ushnavirya Dravya there. So there will be red flag on the computer that your prescription is going Ushna. So he can immediately check and he can put some amla there. It will come down to this side. So this is, we have created again because we were facing all these problems. And that's how we developed. So our work have been all on experience, on practical things, That's how we have developed our practice.
Thank you.
Which presentation we have seen that tongue appearance. This is also clinical experience. It is depend upon clinical experience. How many patients you are going to see per day and how many years. So you can get that skill also. And regarding the kalpa, fear complex, एक ही कल्प अनेक प्रकार से कैसे इस्तेमाल किए जाता है. दिस इज द प्रैक्टिकल स्किल. एंड ये आपके दिमाग में है तो ये जो प्रैक्टिस का स्किल है वो आप टेलीमेडिसिन के साथ नहीं कर सकते. यू हैव टू एक्सपीरियंस दैट ओनली. तो एक ही कल्प राइट संजीवनी वटी, इट्स देयर आर सो मेनी एडवांटेज ऑफ संजीवनी वटी, बट हाउ इट वर्क्स एंड व्हेनेवर इट शुड बी यूज्ड, it is a clinical experience. It can't give by telemedicine. It is your clinical skill also only.
Sir, you were telling about the different yogas and how different yogas are being formulated, and to know the different yogas, that needs conventional type of
Experience
setting.
is more important, what he says.
Experience is more important. Okay, thank you, sir, for shedding light on that. Now, can we have a short break? The break is just 10 minutes and we'll gather back for the resummation of this debate. Yes, it's 10 minutes. Today is short, so everyone be quick, have your soup and be back.
May we please request all of our panelists to be on the dais? Let me just check. When is it?
Mine is at 4 o'clock. Mine is at 4 o'clock. But now she just told me that. Because I don't want to session.
May we please request all our panelists to be on the dais? I think the conversation is getting only interesting as time goes on. We have already had too many questions from the audience side. Before we sort of start with that, so just to start with, I think we also sort of had a logical conclusion to our previous conversation. Just to start with, if I may, this is a question that was asked to Dr. Joshi. How does it compare? How does Veda Pulse and Nadi Tarangani compare from a very technical and even from an Ayurveda perspective?
Hello.
Just to add on to this point, not only Veda Pulse and Nadi Tarangani, all the wearable devices, as far as claiming that they can help you in doing Nadi Pariksha, please have your answer elaboratory on that as well. And some are also promoting directly to the patients, not going through the Vaidya's route. So please throw some light on that as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for this question. Those who don't know, there are 8 to 10 Nadi devices in the market at the moment. Our product is called Nadi Tarangidi. There is a Russian product about which the question came, which is called Veda Pulse. There is a mobile app-based product which is called Ayurveda. Then there is a product which is currently incubated at IIT Kanpur, which is Pulse Veda or something like that. One more which is getting developed at IIT Bombay. I know IIT Chennai is also working on this, and so on. So there are so many people working on this because there is a huge scope, and every different sensors are used, different technologies are used for sensing the same pulse, same nadi. I will put Veda Pulse, Ayurveda, the IIT Kanpur all into the same bucket. Either they used some kind of optical sensor or the mobile phone optical sensor or capacitive pressure sensor. From each of those sensors from pulse, whether you collect data from the fingertip or in case of Veda Pulse from the wrist, or in case of mobile phone, again from the fingertip, but on the mobile, what you are essentially collecting is something called heart rate variability signal. All right. So when we study Nadi, I can tell many parameters that we are actually studying, which are with respect to rate, rhythm, width, amplitude, depth, structure, patterns, inter variability about which sir mentioned, and so on. So the heart rate variability based sensors or systems can definitely tell with respect to rate and rhythm. That's all. These are the two important parameters. Of course, amplitude comes, but mainly rate and rhythm. From those two, what you get is something ये fast चल रहा है, whether it's moving fast or medium paced or slow. Okay. I would highly recommend all of you to go to the website of Veda Pulse. They have put the articles on their website, and one of the article actually explains there is a pulse signal which is coming from their capacitive pressure sensor. From that sensor, they get the frequency domain parameters. In those frequency domain parameters, there is a very low energy, there is a low energy, and there is a high energy, frequency wise, and which are, you know, in a way are correlated with Vat, Pitta, and Kapha, in that order. When we go beyond this, I mean, just to start with at a simple terms, Sarpagati, Mandukgati, Hausagati, it is not just about rate and rhythm. There is much beyond, all right, which is about depth, which is about different types of structures and so on, which are not captured in these heart rate variability based signals. We saw one of the shlok, in fact, 3 shlokas had the word Sukshma. Okay? मतलब एक मराठी में अगर वो है कि सूक्ष्मतेमध्ये जास्त असतं. So when you go deeper, when you go in at a minuscule scale, you actually receive more information. So in heart rate variability based signals or those systems, sukshmata is not available because, you know, those data points are available at the superficial level. The sensors which we have developed along with Vaidyas have all the parameters, you know, which our Vaidya used to check, whether it's Sukshmata, Tikshnata, Samata, Kathinta, and so on. There are so many of them. And that is how we have started. So that is the basic difference, that data is available, data is not available. Now our data is available. Now there is a journey last 15 years and next 15 years where we actually convert that available data into the complex other shlokas which we saw. We go deeper and deeper and extract as much information as possible. Very last, very nice incident I will tell. When I did my PhD, I worked on 9 sensors, including capacitive sensor, including optical sensor, including so many, including mic. Let me hear what the Nadi says and so on. So every time I used to collect Nadi, I used to take the printout of that particular signal, take to the Vaidya, and show it to him. See, this is the new Nadi. I've cracked it. This is a eureka moment. And every time he used to say, "Isme kuch bhi nahi hai. I cannot see anything which I can feel." Okay. One fine day, after 4.5 years of my PhD, again I took one printout to him. Just looking at the printout, he said, "This is a female pulse. Age is 20 to 25. She has chest pain. The chest pain is because of the gases. And please ask her to do so and so before and after food." Let me not go into what he said. But that was the real eureka moment. He actually saw what he feels. Okay. So, so that is how, that is the main difference. Completeness and having said that, all sensors are welcome. As I rightly said, the market is huge. The market is in a very nascent stage. The only question which he asked, whether the data can directly go to the patients and patients take their own decisions, I am of the opinion that it should not happen. It should not be done. But different businessmen have their own strategies, their own validation processes, and so on. So whatever that company has done, I should not be talking about that. These 7 people are of the opinion that technology should be there, but through Vaidyas. So if we talk about this dais, the instrumentation or technology or sensors or telemedicine or this should not be passed on to the patients directly. However, when we go to chatbots, this, that, other technologies, sometimes we are bypassing the Vaidyas. Please ask me question about that so that I can again talk a 4-minute, how and where this is useful and why it has to be done or it has not to be done. We'll discuss. Thank you.
Okay, Thank you, Aniruddha Joshi ji. And he has explained one of the most complex things is Ashtasthana Pariksha, and among them, one of them main thing is Nadi Pariksha. And to convert Nadi Pariksha into technology is really difficult. And we have insight on that from him. And let's look into other perspective. We have Dr. Krishna Prasad ji, who does classical Jihva Pariksha and other many Pariksha in classical method. Let's talk about PR Krishna Prasad ji. He's a medical officer in Sharada Ayurveda Vidyashala in Coimbatore. He served as a teacher in Ayurveda in Coimbatore for 15 years. He was deputy medical superintendent at Ayurveda College Hospital, Coimbatore during his tenure. He works towards cost minimalization in Nidana and Chigilsa. He regularly teaches the concepts of Agni and Ahara for foreign students in AVP's Academy at Coimbatore. Welcome, Krishna Prasad ji. And if I can have your insight on the Jihva Pariksha, it would be very grateful.
Namaste. Sorry for being late. And in the morning, the vehicle I was traveling in.
Sir, can you just little closer?
Yeah. In the morning, the vehicle I was traveling in met with a minor accident, and I had to change the vehicle, so I was late.
Technology can.
First I have to tell the truth. Usually in a gathering like this, AVP will be inviting people like this to give you knowledge. And the AVP usually invites me for entertainment value. I think Krishna Kumar ji always invited me to lighten up the session. Those people will be giving Guru Dravya and I will be giving Lagu Dravya. But anyway, because of paucity of time, I would like to keep it short. But what is an ornament to a scholar? Like the 13 types of Agni, he is a burden to a physician. I think we can try to minimize, and I always try to work like a village Vaidya. A village Vaidya does not have a bombastic language or a very complex theory, but he is always straight to the point. You ask a BMS student where to give Rasnadi small and Rasnadi big. They don't give a crisp answer. Once I asked a village Vaidya where to give Maharasnadi Kashayam and Rasnadi Kashayam small. He said, when there is pain in the anterior side, give Rasnadi small, and when there is pain on the posterior side of the knee, give Maharasnadi Kashayam. After 1 or 2 years, I understood that he was talking about inflammatory pain in the articulating surfaces of the bone, which will respond to Rasnadi small, and the pain stemming from the soft tissues on the posterior side of the knee that will respond to Maharasnadi Kashayam. So the purpose of a gathering like this is to make students visit the theoretical points which are not usually taken care of in a regular class, and to have a Tadvidya Sambhashanam so that it is mutually beneficial, and you have a take-home message. See, whether you use technology or not, whether it is telemedicine or whether it is a consultation across the table, it is to write a prescription, and before that we have to gather information regarding the Rogam and Rogi. But the main point on which always students believe that we have to gather more and more information regarding the Roga. But the point that is missed is, in Ayurveda, we are not treating the disease. We are treating the body that permits a disease to crop up. See, in Ayurveda, we are not treating the disease. We are treating a body that goes wrong and permits a disease to manifest in it. So we have to pay more attention on the body. I said that people in AVP invites me for entertainment value. Sometimes we always hear that Ayurvedic physicians saying that Ayurvedic theory is not sufficient and it has to be trimmed, it has to be diluted, it has to be broken, melted, and a new statue has to be built. I think Ayurvedic theory is very perfect, and Ayurvedic theory is a mathematical science. And if the disease is +2, the medicine is -2, and if the disease is +10, obviously the medicine is -10. So we don't have to rework the theory. It would be enough if we understand that. Once an Ayurveda physician called the police, and he said that the steering wheel and the speedometer are missing in his car. And when the police went, they found him sitting in the back seat of the car. So in most cases, Ayurveda physicians miss the point because they don't know where they stand, or they do not pay attention to the context. See, if we can try to minimize cost, everything becomes very easy. See, for example, for 15 years, I was working in Ayurveda College, Coimbatore, and I did not have the luxury of prescribing all the medicines that were, which I knew about. And I could prescribe only medicines which the patients could prescribe, could purchase. And I was compelled to hone my skills in Darshana, Sparshana, and Prashna, and minimize my prescription. And I will give you a very small insight. Whenever there is a dandruff, what is the medicine which we have to give? What is the oil which we have to apply on the head? I'll give permission for one student to give the answer. Please, if you have an answer, please stand up. If you have dandruff, what should we apply on the head? Sit down, please. This is a regular answer, but dandruff is due to indigestion. Have you ever seen any madman roaming on the street suffering from dandruff who never washes his head? But it is seen in Ayurveda college students staying in Ayurveda college hostels. Okay? Dandruff is a clear case of Agnimandyam. You give Deepanapajana Aushadam, Gandharva Hastadi Kashaya before food, and a combination of Abhayarisham, Vasarisham, 2:1. Within 2 to 3 weeks, the dandruff disappears. Okay? And then what about the wart? If you have a wart, you go to the beauty parlor. A wart is a sign of arshas. You treat the arshas, the wart disappears. And if there is corn, usually it is referred to Shalya department. And in all cases of corn, there is a chronic inability to digest fat and protein. You give Gandharvastadi or drugs like that, and once the digestive system improves, within 15 days, the pain disappears, and within 3 months, the corn disappears. Okay? And when there is pain under the heel, we usually prescribe some oil. Again, it is a kafaja rujam. The pain is brought on after sleep. You give kafahara, kasahara dravyam, or a deepanapajana dravyam like Gandharva Hastadi. The pain under the heel disappears. Okay? And what about tartar on the teeth? You think it has to be referred to the dentist. You give a Deepanapajana Aushadam. Within 3 to 4 weeks, the tartar disappears. For example, even there you can hone your skills. If the tartar is present on the entire surface of the teeth, it responds to Gandharvastadi. If the tartar is present only on the lower border of the teeth, it responds to Aragodadi. Okay? Once you improve your ability for Darshana, Sparshana, and Prashna, whether you use technology or not, you can become a very inexpensive doctor. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I think so. Yes, sir has told about the other clinical manifestation that we probably miss out. That has the root cause somewhere else. So that is when I think so the telemedicine has a limitation. I think so, sir, probably means that like we miss out the clinical symptoms or signs. That is probably the root cause of the clinical manifestation. Right, sir? Is that what you meant? Yes. Okay. Thank you, sir. Now let's get to Ram Prasad ji. What can we do if we miss out the main clinical manifestations, which is the root cause that the patient is saying? Patient is saying about one of the diseases, but the root cause is some other, like Krishna Prasad sir said that. What is your perspective on that, sir?
You don't miss out. Where do you miss out? The root cause, especially. How do you miss out the root cause in a diagnosis?
Like in the case of warts, sir said that hemorrhoids may be the reason. Most of the time we go to Agni Karma to just remove it. So on that perspective, sir, please.
No, you don't miss out. You're in the clinic, you are a James Bond 007. You want to know everything about the person, the disease, and everything else. I feel like I'm a CID in the clinic. The patient tells you something. That's their interpretation. Sometimes it's their husband's interpretation. Husbands don't talk about the gas and hemorrhoid problem, and the patient, wife says, "Can you tell him about your gas problem?" Oh, that's not important. It is important for the wife or everyone. So what I'm trying to say is this: you never try to miss out on anything. You try to catch everything. And there are superficial symptoms. Sometimes even disease is a symptom. Arthritis may not be a disease, it's a symptom. I had a diabetes patient, 37-year-old, while I was practicing in Ganapati. And I was looking at the tongue, there's nothing wrong with the pancreas. So I said, "You don't have diabetes, type 2 diabetes." And she said, "Here is a paper, blood report, diabetic." I said, "It won't work with the medicine." She said, "Yeah, I throw it in the toilet because it makes me sick." "Yeah, because it's not diabetic." "It is diabetic." I said, "Okay." I said, "What I see is a damage with the small intestine, so I'm going to give you some medicine for that." Can't remember which medicine I gave her. 6 weeks later, she comes back, blood sugar normal. It was not diabetes. It's a secondary disease or a symptom of a primary cause. It's like this. You walk into your living room, there's a pool of water. How do you fix that? Change the tiles, change the carpet, bloop, bloop. So you look at the ceiling. Would you change the ceiling? The tile is moved at the top. You fix that, clean up, fix the ceiling, and then so when the patient tells you this, like migraine, how do you treat migraine? Patya Shraddha Triyadi. Migraine is a pain condition, right? Pain, vata. Every ingredient, or almost all ingredients in Patya Shraddha Triyadi is vata aggravating. So how does Patya Shraddha Triyadi work in migraine? Patya, Aksha, Dhatri, Bhu Nimba, Nisha, Nimba. Amrita is kind of somewhere in between. These 6 herbs are vata aggravating, technically pain increasing, aggravating. How does it work? So migraine is not a brain condition. It's not a neurological condition. It affects the neurology. It's a liver condition. Every ingredient in that Patya Shraddha Triyadi is a liver medicine. When you take the Patya Shraddha Triyadi, even the first 2 tablets or first dose, the pain subsides and it works. But if you don't treat that person in a holistic way, it comes back. They need Patya Shraddha Triyadi for the rest of their lives. So you need to look at what causes the liver issue. This is where you go back to the first sutra, Ragati Roga.
I think,
what causes, what's the stress?
Sorry to interrupt in between. I think the discussion has very well gone into how to do a diagnosis. We will sort of slightly come back to the topic in hand. We have a very interesting question from one of the audience. Till now, we have been presented with views of from the classical perspective, where are all the technical gaps that the technology has to evolve and fit in. But this is more from a very personal and a practical perspective, from a patient perspective. So I sort of pass on the microphone there.
Hi. I had the opportunity to sit for 2 weeks with a very old Vaidya. He's 80 years old. He's from Kerala, and he was reading the posts. And then the lady with the disease said, oh, I have this problem since this time. And then he got the post and he comes, no, this started when you were in the womb of your mom and she was 9 months pregnant. She has this stress and that's what caused your disease. And then another patient came and said, I was in Africa and I had this infection and 8 years ago I started getting sick. And then he gets the post and he says, no, your problem started 7 years before your trip to Africa because you had an emotional problem with your family or with a partner. And that's when your immunity started getting low. And then the infection from Africa just make it worse. So my question for the contemporary, can you do this with the telemedicine? Can you read the post like this?
See, I think it's not a question of like, can you do it physically or can you do it over telemedicine? The question is, do you know how to do it?
Yeah.
That's more important. So
are we there yet is the
yeah.
question.
So like we do such cases. We have started a mental well-being program very recently, and it's very surprising that a lot of such cases who have been taking medicines for years, when we went into their mind we can do it through telemedicine also. Many of the sessions are done through telemedicine. We could find out that the root cause was in the mind, and there's a lot of such programs are now even available even in the West, where the disease can be located even into the womb or in the early childhood, some traumatic experience, some emotional traumatic experience. So this is, I think, it's very much possible. Technically, now we have started doing for almost every case a mind well-being session on the side, and we are seeing the outcomes have improved. Even for diabetes, we're doing especially for psoriasis and skin diseases, which is earlier we were giving medicines for 1 year. Now within 4 months, we are seeing amazing changes. So it's very much doable through telemedicine because it's more about like talking to the patient, and most important is making a connection with the patient, which can be missing even when you are just physically checking the patient. I don't know the method of this particular Vaidya, how he's doing with the pulse. I'm still saying, but this is really amazing knowledge that he has. But this can be done through conversation also. It's all like extracting the information from the patient, and when a Vaidya is actually thinking from that perspective, that I'm trying to extract the emotional and traumatic experiences of this person going back into the childhood, then definitely through talking, whether on phone or video, it's possible to do it.
Can I give my perspective?
Go ahead.
Thank you. So the Vaidyaraj with whom I started used to, do the same way. I just see Dr. Gigi coming into the session. He is one of the best ones. I heard stories about him doing in the similar way. Let's not take one anecdote and whether technology can do this or not. So I'm an engineer. Let me talk about engineering. Let me not talk about Ayurveda at the moment. So if we are 100 engineers, one of them is like best coder. And 9 are like good coders, and then 90 are average coders, right? In software industry, there are so many IDEs, that is the software enablers, which help those 90 average coders to do the to run the software industry. So let me put it this way, that if there are 100 Vaidyas present here, I'm sure there will be one who is the best. There will be 9 who are good ones, but the technology or telemedicine or a wearable or whatever form we are talking about will help the rest of the 90 people to reach out to their own patients in a way. So what she mentioned is a very special case. Very few Vaidyas actually could do this. In the morning on the breakfast table, the first question which Dr. Vhelankar asked me was, is Nadi Pariksha more about Siddhi or is it really about something else? And let me not tell you guys the answer which I which we discussed. But in a very practical way, if we really want to reach out to 140 crore janta of our country and 700 crore of the whole world in the best possible way, if we really want Hargar Ayurved, 5 lakh Vaidyas cannot do this. This has to be done through technology, through wearables, through enablement, and so on. And but the question which you asked, no, technology can never achieve that state. Whether Nadi Tarangini or Veda Pulse or best form of Nadi Tarangini, no. This is very special and which has to be gathered through meditation, yoga, abhyas, lots of experience, so many other things which technology cannot do. Technology cannot meditate. But maybe big data over the 20 years, I cannot predict. But today's my answer is no, technology cannot do what you just said.
Thank you so much for that answer. One moment. Just to very sort of succinctly say, I always recollect this that I've learned from Vaidya Prasad ji, that even a Vaidya, when you look at Vaidyas, you can sort of categorize them into 3 parts. One is the Vyavaharika Vaidya, another is the Shastragya Vaidya, another is the Tattva Vaidya. So it's that sort of a hierarchy that we are talking about, where a lot of sadhana, a lot of practice goes into picture. And yeah, that said, so Hasji, could okay, we have a minute for you to conclude.
Sure.
And we move on to the next question.
I'll be very short.
Yes.
Right. No, just to continue what we have been discussing about being practicing Manas Yoga for last 2 decades. I think the first thing that always has been told by my guru is you need to heal yourself to heal others. See, until unless you are in that mindset, no, you cannot. That definitely cannot come with the technology. And what we are expect when patient comes, no, it's not that what he has been suffering at present. There's a lot of past thing that really accumulates the patients. And even when it comes to psychiatry, it is said that more than 50 to 60% of the problem starts before the age of 14 years. And when they come to you at the age of 30, 40, you probably start from there. And that can definitely be done even, like may not be to that expectation. Because even if you go in a very detailed manner, you can definitely evaluate with the help of technology also, like through telemedicine. I'm here talking about the telemedicines. Also, you can definitely do that to a very insightful approach toward the patients. So one more thing, what we have been seeing now, this is a shift probably what we are trying to see. Probably a few years back, no, the engineers and the medical people were never together. And now we can see that this is a shift that has been happening. And this is what is technology is all about. It has been really, no, I think with the new generation of the biosensors engineering or the biomedical engineering coming truly, I think it's a time when probably we are talking about the transdisciplinary research. And that is where probably our institution, we started way back under the guidance of a former principal, Dr. B.S. Prasad, who is at present the president of Board of Ayurveda. Under his vision and his guidance, we have been integrating with various engineering institutions. In fact, we have an engineering institution at our KLE also, where we have developing various instruments. And that is where probably now it's a time where people are really looking for this integration between medicine and biology. In fact, all the engineering colleges this year have a new subject called as biology in engineers. Okay, and this is what we are looking about, where they're probably trying to integrate the medicine with the technology. Thank you.
Thank you. More on this we'll touch upon a little later. Okay.
Hello. When humans started walking, started getting up and standing on their 2 legs, the technology started, right? Balancing on 2 legs, hard work. So technology is not a thing. It's an evolution, a human evolution. It's in the human imagination, human mind, human body. It's part of life. Now, there are 2 groups of people. The so-called new generation, not as in new generation versus old generation, they always ask, how do I use this technology to provide a better service, make my life better, others better? That's it. When we had, stethoscope, Ayurveda doctors were not really happy about it. Then they embraced it. The X-rays, we didn't like it. Then we embraced it. Blood tests, scan reports, CD, and so many new technologies coming, we are all embracing it. After the initial resistance, we all are going to embrace new step without much drama. We just need to learn it, to understand it. Otherwise, how come Dr. Pratap Chauhan is helping thousands of people per day with his online technology? When Skype was here in 2003, I started doing online consultation. It was fantastic. Every patient said the same thing. If you can see my health and life via my tongue, the picture I emailed you, I don't need to come and see you. They started saving money and time. I started saving money and time. Easy. So it's about understanding. It's not about resistance. Let's try to understand.
Yeah, I think that sort of is the usual inertia that one faces at the face of change. Okay, coming back to the question that has been long overdue.
Namaste. Actually, I have some questions. Maybe 2 years before, I was completely against technology, integrating technology into Ayurveda and all. But last 1 year, I have been in touch with some people who are related to the software industry. And at that time, I got many new insights, and I got to view Ayurveda through a new flavor. Like it was a new sense. Like Ayurveda was giving me new tastes about when we view it through the eyes of technology. So some questions I have is that one is regarding hospital management. I've seen some hospital management softwares which are just a replica of Ayurveda case sheets. So most of the students will know that currently in the Ayurveda curriculum we have a case sheet which is just a replica of a modern case sheet. But just to make it Ayurveda, we just have some terms like Desha, Kala, Ashtavida Pariksha, those things. Those columns are being filled, but we don't know for what. Just filling those columns, that's all. But those, if a person is having fever, coming with fever, and if he's coming from Jangala Desha or Anupadesha, that will be noted there, but that doesn't make any influence in the dosha or aushadha nirupana. That is what is being seen right now. So if we can provide that, because when we are actually going to think about the dosha, aushadha nirupana, even acharyas have told we have to see like dushyam, desham, balam, kalam, all these things have to be noted. But if you start noting all these things in each and every patient, vipula buddhimapi aguli guruhu. And if you don't look at it, it will be like nihanti aduram. So it is extreme cases. But if we use technology to note all these things, and if we are able to, like if you are noting desha or kala, along with that, if you are noting which is the dosha in that, which is the dosha in that. And finally, the system is about getting to show the doctor a summary of all the things he has done in subjective and objective. And it will be displayed on the screen. And alone with that, he can make the dosha, aushadha, nirupana. If such a model is there, it can actually do good to Ayurveda. Because all the Ayurveda Vaidyas will start thinking about the dosha, desha, and the involvement of those things in the dosha, aushadha, nirupana. So won't that be a good model? That is my first question. The second is like, I have been in touch with some Vaidyas who were using Vedables, and I got like, even the level of specificity that Vedapal's report is giving is very high level. So the Amshamsa Kalpana has been noted to a very high extent there. So can that be a replacement to the experience, at least to the freshers? So if you want to see the Vyana Vata of a patient, it is very difficult. You first have to learn how to see the Vata, status of Vata in the patient. After that, maybe in 10 or 15 years, you will start to see the level of Vyana Vata. So if that is being produced by the system, not in the treatment, but if that is a recommendation by the system and the Vaidya can confirm it, won't that be a good model? That is the other thing. And the final thing, just one more thing, that is regarding while Ayurveda is being integrated into technology, does Ayurveda Shastra need some level of samskara? Because when we are doing the telemedicine, there is no possibility of sparsana pariksha, or darsana and prasna can be there. So there are some things like, for example, there is a Shastra called Chora Shastra, Science of Thievery. So there, actually, it is there. I mean, still in search of that book, the original text. where the guru is teaching a shishya. When you enter into a house, you have to look the house owner, and just by seeing, you can know the prakriti and other things of the house owner. And if he's a Kabha prakriti, you can do the stealing anything you want very easily. But if he's a Vata prakriti, you should, if you breathe loudly, he will get up. So there are some symptoms which are told only based on darsana pariksha, because a thief cannot use parsana or prasna. So if we integrate those lakshanas into a clinic, can't that be a good samskara to Ayurveda, which can make it more compatible with technology? Thank you.
Thank you for asking and answering the questions. I think you have answered already. So
Very quickly to summarize, that was quite a long session. So number one is with respect to metrics. Are we doing enough in the lines of having appropriate metrics in place, such as clinical registry? Is it appropriate? Or are we just taking a model, sort of trying to remodel so that it fits our Ayurveda needs? That doesn't make sense. So are we doing that? Will that fit? Are these are questions that needs a bit of pondering. I think that's something that first we should go about, not just with respect to clinical registrations, but generally, do we have enough metrics in place? Maybe the technology is ready. Do we have the metrics in place? That's something that we can talk about.
Yeah. See,
And of course, I would like the classical side to say that these are all the aspects that cannot be sort of, where you said that these are qualitative. These are not quantitative aspects. So I would like to know what are all the hardcore qualitative area that cannot be just done away with any metric. Yeah.
Before they could take over, no, I'll just add few things. See, definitely what we need to understand is, see, any technology is need-based. So it's very important that we understand what is the need of a Vaidya, or what is the need, what is required from us. Because it is not just technology comes without any purpose. There's always a purpose. That is what is the whole definition of technology, that we are using the scientific knowledge with a purpose. So knowing the purpose is very, very important. And that's why probably even there are a lot of initiatives. I think if we can go, there is a good publication which is there in JIM on the Ayush digital initiatives which have been there. And there's a good list of what are the initiatives that has been taken by the different organizations. So I think I recommend all the students to kindly go through this. There are definitely some efforts which has been made by Ministry of Ayush, like there is something called as AHMS, which is Ayush Hospital Management Softwares, which try to get all the necessary data and also tries to analyze that. So that is why it's a little bit of a basic, you need to go a little bit of the knowledge that you need in technology. There are some languages that you need to understand, like some basic languages that, like for example, there's something called as Python, which you can just go through the basic Python language, which helps you to analyze the data. Like for example, one of my friend, Dr. Prasanna Kulkarni, has been able to develop some basic data of how to, suppose if you put like what type of guna, what type of karma, what type of expected outcome you want, like there is something called as e-dravya, e-chikitsa, there's e-prakriti, and at the same time, also there are some basic advices which comes you. So if you want to say that you want katuvirya with this vipaka and with this outcome, it can use you the drug of list of the drugs. And based on that, you can make a choice of that. So, but always, whatever could be the technology, you should always understand what is the need that is there. And definitely, we are not saying that definitely that the technology is going to replace the human intelligence. You can always aid or assist what is required.
Right? Or can I move on to the classical panel? Yeah.
I just want to make comment on his first, that continuous data needs to be recorded. Yes, it will help a lot. Continuous data. So in our product Nadi Tarangini, Tarang means rhythm, and it's not just about health, but Taranga is everywhere, and the whole nature is connected. So when we talk about wearables here, wearables not just on human bodies, but wearables in environment, wearables around trees, wearables here, wearables there on trees, where we can record continuous data of earth and so on. So that when 24 hours we know the atmosphere, the earth, the body, the trees and everything, then the real big data, or whatever we call it as, will provide all the knowledge base which is present in Ayurveda. and help Vaidyas in most possible way. So just wanted to add one point. I mean, he had already answered his question, but just wanted to add that the wearable is not just about the people, it's also around us. I mean, all environment, everyone should be measured along with us. That is what.
Okay, thank you. Over to the classical panel. I just want to very quickly ask to sort of repurpose or give a change in perspective to what they've answered. Is there something that specifically as the Shastra Vaidya that we are on the lookout for? Hey, why can't technology crack this? You know, it would be good if you could sort of give a hand along these lines. That sort of thing. But that has not been done till date. You know, that something that's very core to the Ayurvedic concepts, but the technology has to, you know, sort of evolve along with so that it can also be accommodated. You know.
Let me first honestly agree with what Shetty sir has said. Yes, technology is there to aid us. But whatever information you give to the technology, accordingly it is going to help us. So that input is very important. Now in the break, we were talking about one more clinical example, what he has said. Now in Yogaraj Gugul also, there's one more reference, what he has quoted is infertility. Now you put that information. Now if there's an infertility patient, say 100 infertility patients, you keep giving Yogaraj Gugul to all of them, you are not going to get the results. So technology doesn't understand the complexity of the treatment. Now you need to understand that Yogaraj Guguru cannot be given to all those patients which are like infertility. There are specific conditions where only if you give, then only you are going to get the results. Another example, I would like to talk about one government project that was there in Gujarat. Now it was about Pandu. All classical formulations were there. And now almost they are concluding that all the Shastrokta medicines are not working. Now the problem with that project is they are randomly giving the medicine, same kind of medicine is given to all. That is a standardization, but Ayurveda doesn't believe in the concept of standardization. We are here for personalized medicine and you cannot give the same medicine to all the patients of Pandu and it cannot give the results. Now what happens actually, if such kind of results, they come into public domain, Ayurveda gets the blame. They do not blame that, okay, this method what they have adopted, there is a problem with that method. If all those patients could have been classified into maybe all Dusham, Desham, Balam, Kalam, and only selected patients which are actually eligible for those diseases, if the medicine was given, the results would have been the same which are mentioned in the classics. So what happens actually when you feed up that information to the technology, technology doesn't understand the complex part. Maybe after a few years, maybe you will have like that much of data, it will be in a position to guide us, but not now.
Sir.
Just a minute.
Yes, please, all of you.
He has given the example of Pandu. So there are so many kalpas act on Pandu. Tapyadiloha, Punarnavadi Mandur, Kantaloha Basma, Chandraprabha. There are so many. Which kalpa in which condition of Pandu, how to use, that is the only decision of Vaidya. That can't get by the technology. So there is the failure. Again, so you have to think about the technology and our tarka buddhi. How to utilize that. This is the big issue.
See, I always support the use of technology, but I think the practice should be authentic and sensible. See, for example, in telemedicine, most of the information is gathered through asking. That is Prashna. And we need to pay attention to what sort of questions we ask and how we interpret the data. In one particular cardiac study conducted somewhere in Europe, they found that this was conducted in cardiac patients, and when there was an increase, when there was an aggravation in the clinical condition, they found that there was more dirt on the teeth. There was more dirt on the teeth. And after the study, one of the researchers shared her insight with the press persons. She said, based on this study, we have asked our seriously ill cardiac patients to brush their teeth twice daily. But if the same data had been given to a sensible Ayurvedic physician, he or she would have said, In Ayurveda, there is more upaleva when there is Agnimandya, Ajirna, Ahita Bhojana, Viruddha Bhojana, etc. And then we would have advised the patients to avoid all such Viruddha Ahara. As a physician, they would have given more of Deepanapajana Aushadam. With a better Agni, there would be a better, more cleaner Srodhas and a cleaner buccal cavity. So after collecting data from the patients, we have to make an interpretation according to Ayurvedic science. See, for example, when we begin to use technology, we can, as the speaker said, we can minimize the time and money spent for diagnosis, travel, etc. And we can make everything simple by injecting a confidence into our practice. See, for example, take the example of sweating of the palm. When usually students have sweating of the palm, and when this is brought to the attention of an acharya in the Ayurveda college, they will give a textual explanation. Sweating is due to pitta, so you have to give pitta hara aushadam. So you take mahatiktam kashayam or tiktakam kashayam. But most of the time, in a normal person, there is no sweating on the palm. This usually happens when there is an increase of vada, because when there is an abnormal appearance, it is due to vigriddhi and it is due to vada. And when we give a Deepanapajana Aushadam, when the Dhatu Bala increases, the sweating stops. And similarly, take the example of very offensive socks. When some school children remove the socks, we cannot remain in the room. The socks smell very bad. And you go to an allopathy doctor, they advise the use of antibacterial soap and smell-resistant socks. But in all such clinical conditions, I have found that the patients had a very chronic Agnimandyam. And when I gave Deepanapajana Aushadam, after that, after the Agni became strong, even if they don't wash their socks for 1 week, the socks did not smell bad. Okay, we support the use of technology, but then you should convert the data into usable Ayurvedic tool and give relief to the patient. And when when we begin to interpret, there should be no technology. There should be only Ayurveda. Thank you.
Okay.
We can't really say technology doesn't understand it. There's no technology. A technology starts with your thinking. I want to fly. It's a thinking. So I gather a team of people to make it happen. So when someone says, "Oh, technology doesn't understand it," which part? Write it down. We'll give it a quarter. Here we go. App is ready for you. It's simple. Don't complain that technology that doesn't understand it. It doesn't work like that. It's your imagination. It's your need. It's your thinking. That's the beginning of technology. There's nothing new in technology. It evolves with us. Simple. You know, we put a pair of glasses on our face. Technology. What's wrong with that? If it's a better technology, we use it. That's it.
Yes, yes, we are knowing about the technologies, and the technologies, when you put the information into it, it might be misguided. And Ram Prasad ji was saying that it should be efficient. The coding, it depends on the coder, right? That you were saying. I think so. Bhattacharya ma'am has a lot of input into it.
No, she has a question.
Yesterday morning, namaste, first of all. Yesterday morning, we had a session on Yukti versus Daiva, I always say it's a Vyaprashya Chikitsa and the Sattva Vijaya Chikitsa. So how would you take technology and interpret that which those of us who have intuitions, I know many of you intuit. So when that input of intuition is just a vision that we get, which comes from the ethers, how do you put that into technology, part one? And part two is, if we take what we do in Ayurveda, which is beyond the logical, beyond the yukti, chikitsa, then how do we program that as an input to technology, but still have the mainstream people take it seriously? Do you understand my question? Because we might give that input in technology, but how do we make that something serious? Because I know what I get intuitively when I take Pulse will never come across in technology. So I actually use Pulse more than I use lab tests and scans and other things. They help me quantify a little bit, but how do I take what I can do? Simply because, as someone said in the beginning, when your mind is calm before you see a patient and your senses are clean, you're going to pick up a lot of things about the patient that you cannot do when you're confused and too busy, which is a state of today's healthcare system. So how are you going to take that which we are trained to do, thanks to Krishna Kumarji, and put that into technology? Thank you.
Yeah, I think there's a little confusion here. It's not that the job of Vaidya is going to be done by technology. Even through technology, there is a Vaidya sitting there. Whether it is a physical examination or it's a consultation through telemedicine, of course, we need a robust infrastructure. It's not just you just give a call to somebody and start talking and just that's a telemedicine. Telemedicine has also very nice guidelines now. There are guidelines for telemedicine. You have to have all the proper infrastructure. But answering your question, this is a very nice question you have asked, and I talked about this little bit earlier also, that it's the Vaidya which is very important. Technology is just an aid, it's an enabler. If the Vaidya is not in that state of mind or in that state of balance, then it doesn't matter whether it is a physical consultation or even checking pulse. Whether when he checks the pulse, he has to be in that complete state of meditation. It's a meditative technique actually. So therefore, I think that we are sometimes misunderstanding the word telemedicine. It's not just some talk through the phone. Of course, there are challenges. There are, especially when it comes to Ayurveda, as I mentioned, we face this challenge. First of all, how to make an Ayurvedic diagnosis. So we solved that problem, creating protocols. Then the second thing is the Ayurvedic medicine, as sir mentioned, is personalized. One kalpa can be used for so many things. So that's because that's where telemedicine cannot come. That's where technology cannot do this. The Vaidya has to decide it. We are working on a program right now which can assist the Vaidya. For example, a diabetes patient comes and through the protocol some diagnosis has been made, whether it is a Vata, Pitta, Kapha, which dosha. Then from the database, through the technology, he can search which patients got relief. And that will, again, he is not going to copy the same prescription. That's not Ayurveda. That prescription will maybe help him to find, oh, these medicines are coming up again and again. So maybe I can try to pick up some from them. But ultimately, final decision is Vaidya's decision. Whether it is due to Agnimanda or it is due to some other, that has to be treated.
Thank you. We have a question from the audience.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for this enlightening session. And I just have one request to all of you, and classical team should please say their inputs as well. See, as far as technology is concerned, definitely we agree with all the points which you people are making. With due respect to the classical aspects, we should be balanced. Now, as an ideal Vaidya, and there are some certain concerns from the students and audience as well. What we see when I first got introduced into AI, what I see as an ideal situation for this, with due respect to all the devices and all, we can't neglect the power of our brain. And for Ayurveda, I don't want to name any other system of medicine, but for that it is 10%, for Ayurveda it is 100%, as far as the difference is concerned in the complexity of the practice. Now, to get into this, as a Vaidya, for example, if we are sitting in our clinics, and there are very few Vaidyas, sir, who can memorize the entire Ashtang, Hridaya, Ashtang, Sangrah or Charak or Sushruta or maybe Bheshaj or whatever Granth. There are very few, to be very frank. But if I have that sense and that eligibility I have to create as a Vaidya, that I have a sense that I can connect my patient to a text. For example, I know that in which chapter, in which shloka, but I am not able to reach to that level due to my limitation in terms of memorizing the entire Shastra. But that tech is enabling us, because we have started a pilot project on AI, IndianVedyas.ai, the first pilot project we are doing with some developers right now, that can we help that Vedya to go to that level of Charaka with the help of tech and make the decisions. In that way, we are helping through AI to memorize the Charak, Sushrut and Vangbhat and other texts. We are not neglecting the value of that. Decision maker is the Vedya, but yes, through the devices, through the tools, through the in near future, through the holograms of our Shastra just displays in front of me in my eyes. Just I'm wearing a device right now like this glasses, and you will not be able to see that I'm reading the shloka in my wearable of that particular Charak chapter. So if that level technology is helping me, why not? Why not if a patient is sitting in front of me and I'm seeing that exact sutra in my glasses from which I have to decode the treatment of that patient. So why not? Why not we are open for that kind of technology? So that is my question to all of you. Thank you.
See, basically when you're talking about the treatment, no, we are not talking of the treatment of all cases, all conditions using technology. Definitely it is not that we are fearing that there should be a total replacement. But what happens, see, the main thing is we would like to, the problem here is how best we can reach the people so that many of the people are able to access the facilities of Ayurveda. The number of people seeking still are not as good as what we are supposed to. Sometimes we feel that we are underutilized the services in public health as we are not able to connect to the people. So once we are able to use this technology to see that people come to us, then probably definitely the conventional methods are definitely useful. Because we are talking about prevention, we are, as Sir was mentioning about how like to find, to track and to fight. So at least to find the problems and see that they come to us. That is where probably we can integrate or use the technology. Once they come us, probably we can definitely use the conventional methods. Because especially if you see the health or the help seeking behaviors attitude, especially in country like India, less than 70 to 86% of the people do not approach the doctor, and especially even in psychiatry, it is much more higher. So probably if they can, such devices or such technology can help them to screen them. Maybe say that, oh, there is some problem, you need to approach to a doctor's, and so that is why this easily accessible, available, without having, because they do not want to come to the doctor and do not have the direct interaction. They do not want conventional approach at the beginning. There are a lot of people who avoid this. This can definitely help them to assist and see that they can come there. And this is what is a strong belief that we should use such technology so that we can have more access, acceptance, and more number of people come to the services of Ayurveda, and then probably we can use the conventional methods.
Yes, thank you, Suhas sir. I think so. Technology has aided humanity in many ways, such as we don't need to walk from Palakkad to Coimbatore now, we have car. Likewise, when there is limitation in humanity, technology has aided us. So I kindly ask Vinay ji on his perspective of, will that create a problem? Will that technology aiding us make us more lazy? This was also a question of our students, one of the student also. So we are becoming lazy. So that also is creating more people away from Ayurveda. Like even the doctors, even the students who are entering into Ayurveda, it just creates back because it is hectic. So when the technology aids them, will this create become the Vaidya Alpa Buddhi, or will it create any problem in the Vaidya? Thank you, sir.
I think this is the gestational period, transit period. I think after 15 years, 20 years, everybody will be used to for technology, maybe possible. But we should think about the Tarka Buddhi should be there. Technology, we can take support for them, but ultimately decision is the only person take by Vaidya. एक सेकंडली जो मैंने बताया वैसा ह्यूमन टच जो है we are lacking of now. Artaha putrot upakramyaha. You have seen the Munna Bhai MBBS picture, you know. That lady, he asked all students who is become a good practitioner or doctor. So many hands are coming out. Then what answered that professor give? No, 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 no. This is the only sharir, or take a knife and give. This is the basic fundamental thought process. Artaha putrot upakramyaha, or this is the only sharira. The basic our treatment depend upon the patient doctor relationship, which is lacking now day at day, and family doctor concepts are also lacking. So in our text, one sutra is there. मैत्री ही कारुण्यम आर्तेषु शक्य प्रीति उपेक्षणम प्रकृतिस्थेषु भूतेषु वैद्य वृत्ति चतुर्विधः. ये वैद्य वृत्ति चतुर्विधः we are now lacking. So my motto is to get attraction on this only. So technology, I am not totally against. Previously I said maybe transit period, within a period of 12 years, 15 years, we will use to. But this is consciousness is most essential and most important. That is my perspective.
Yes, please. Okay. Let me add what Bhaswati ji has asked. She basically talked about 3 kinds of diseases. When we are talking about all this technology and everything, we all agree that it might be helpful in Yukti Vyapashray, but not in Sattva Avjay, not in Daiva Vyapashray. It means here we are talking about only 33%, and in 33% also we may agree 50%. So out of 100, only 17% technology can help. What about rest of the 83%? This is my first point. Second, okay, everybody is agreeing that technology is very good, it will be useful. But for technology, we need to submit the data. So this is about only those diseases which are available in Samhita. So what about Vikaranama, Kushalono, Jiryat, Kadachana, Nahi Sarva Vikaranam, Namato Asti Druvas? What about those diseases? What about the concept of Charak, of Anukta Vyadi? The data is not available. How you are going to fit and how the algorithm is going to help you? So certainly here there are limitations. What Sir has told, limitation is a very good word, because from there only the thinking starts. But again, whatever the information which is with us, that can only help us maybe 13-14%, still 83 to 84 or 85%, a lot of work yet to be done. So that is my submission. Thank you.
Yes.
He is my Guruji. Please speak, sir.
Now, when you reduce information into percentage, you get a wrong idea. That's why they call lawyers and statisticians something. Anyhow, you can't reduce this kind of stuff, because ask Dr. Pratap Chauhan, he's running a huge institution. It's not 17%. You can help a lot of people. It's not number. It's more than 70%. It's not 18. It's a bigger number than that. So you can feel the emotion of the humans. That's all. It's the real people on the other side. That's it. Because I do most of the consultation online, and there's a personal connection. There's a rapport. I build trust. It's very easy, But you need to get training in that kind of communication, building relationship and rapport. Otherwise, you can be in your own clinic still.
So what my point is actually that everybody has agreed that in Yukti Vyapashray, in technology will be at aid in Yukti Vyapashray. In Sattva Avjay, there are limitations. In Daiva Vyapashray, it's very difficult. Okay.
I mean, look, again, you're dividing things into, these are all done simultaneously. They're not separately done in a consultation or treatment.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not separated. Oh, now we have.
Yes, sir. I'm coming back to you.
Hello.
So, as just briefing it, so there are some Vaidyas. By seeing the Vaidya or going near the Vaidya, the problems just drop 50%, as sir rightfully said. So you, Sir Pratap Chauhan ji has over 80 institutions, and he is doing telemedicine such greatly. So I am inviting you itself for that, sir.
So first of all, answering your question, technology doesn't make a Vaidya lazy. Only tamas makes a Vaidya lazy. Or if the Vaidya is eating too much kapha foods, or then he will be sleeping. Once you are situated in sattva, technology will save time. Technology will help you in even innovate new things. This is my experience. And the second, I think we need to create a technology to make sattvic Vaidyas. That's what I want to say. We have to create some technology. Regarding Sattva Vajaya, sir, I'm just sharing my experiences. What I understand about Sattva Vajaya is all about educating, guiding, motivation, supporting. So this is mostly either you do it physically or you do it video, or it's like a talking, enhancing the sattva of the person. Of course, there's a lot of things you can advise. You can advise some techniques. You can advise a daily routine. It's all about advising the patient when we are trying to help him mentally. Because normally in Sattva Vajaya, we don't give much medicines. Maybe some Medya Rasayanas we can prescribe, but it's mostly, at the mind work, making the mind positive, creating those kind of, protocols that he can follow every day, breathing exercises, pranayama, and some type of meditation. Devyapashara, of course, is even beyond that. We do a program, it's called Chitta Shodhan Therapy, because the Vaidyas should understand the disease when it manifests. If you look into the Charak Samhita, why they mentioned Pragya Parad? Why not Vata Pitta Kapha? You should think about it. Why they said misuse of intelligence, abusing intelligence? And when do we not use our intelligence? When mind is Rajasic or Tamasic. It's very simple. Why did they say Asatmendriyat Sanyog? Who is controlling your senses? Why are you making wrong contact of senses with the objects? This is the mind. And when you go into the mind, it's not only mind. There is a subconscious mind which is called Chitta. That's where all the samskaras are recorded. That's where whatever, not only from this life, even previous life. So I would strongly, this is my personal recommendation, that we need to bring in this part in Ayurveda, which is missing. You will not believe, sometimes there are two Vaidyas. I see this very often in our company. Two Vaidyas, they have similar patient, they have given the same prescription. One Vaidya's patient gets treated, another doesn't get treated. So how do we explain this? This is your inner consciousness, your love, compassion, empathy, your purity. Don't forget that one of the qualities of Vaidyas is Shuchi. So when we say Shuchi, it's not just taking a bath and just wearing some nice clothes. It's inner pureness, internal pureness. And that's when you become a great Vaidya, like that madam was explaining, that by touching the pulse, he could tell you about the emotional thing. This is something very, really interesting. So this will happen only when we have Shuchi. And Shuchi doesn't mean just external cleanliness, internal, and even to the level of the soul. That's when you can start seeing things without even touching. There are Vaidyas who can look at your face and they can just tell you what's wrong. They can go into your, previous life also. So I'm not saying that this is something mysticism. This is a science. We need to understand it, because the people who wrote these samhitas, Charaka, Shushrut, Vagbhata, at least just imagine what kind of mindset they had. What was their lifestyle? What was their acharan? Do we have somewhere near that? No, we are miles and kilometers away from that. So how can I understand what he is trying to say? It's not just cramming the shloka and just interpreting it. Even in Sanskrit, one word can have 3 different types of meanings. So my final submission is, let's all the Vaidyas try to be more calm, more peaceful, more sattvic, which means our food, what we are watching, what we are hearing. And after 30 years of practice, I have realized it's all about love and compassion. Love is the best medicine.
Yes, actually, really inspiring. Actually, when we talk about misusing the technology, actually we are misusing our senses also. Like, it's about how we perceive it. As sir rightfully said that if we are in a sattvic avastha, there's no chance of misusing. The tamas makes you lazy, not the technology. I asked Krishna Prasad sir to have a view on it. Is it the tamas or the technology makes you go into tamas?
That is a tricky question, but I will not fall for it. See, if you have a focus on what you need to do, you will not be carried away by tamas or technology. If you have a focus, you will use technology to travel faster in the direction you have to travel. Sir, our common intention is to promote Ayurveda, but sitting on this side of the stage, I have duty bound to move away from technology. With your permission. Technology is good. Even those who supported technology have admitted that technology should be used, but it will never replace the human content of diagnosis and treatment. If you think that the technology is very complex, concentrate on Ashtanga Hridayam, and in Ashtanga Hridayam concentrate on Sutrasthana, especially the first chapter. And yesterday Murli sir was here and he taught everything in terms of Vimshadi Guna. Try to understand everything in terms of Vimshadi Guna, and you will understand that even in very small fragments of slokas, vast wisdoms have been compressed, like a compressed file. Take the example of Vayo Aho Ratri Bhuktanam Teyanda Madhyadigaha Kramat. So in Vadiga Jura, the Vega increases when the stomach is empty. Whereas in Kaphaja Jura, the Vega increases immediately after food. So unable to treat acid peptic diseases, gastric ulcer, duodenal ulcer, peptic ulcer, everything is nothing but Agni Mandya. There are more than 60 scientific papers on acid peptic diseases. For us, it is very simple. If the patient is cooking the food in coconut oil, we can cure it within 2 weeks. People say that in acidity, we should not give Arishta. Who said such a nonsense? When there is pain immediately after food, it is Kaphaja Agni Mandyam. And then there I give 60 ml of Arishtam. And if there is pain 60 to 90 minutes after food, it is Paitiga Parinama Shula. Maybe I will give Arishtam, but with more component of Dashamula Arishtam. Whereas in Kaphaja Agni Mandyam, I will select drugs from Kaphaja Arshas, Abhayarisham, Vasarisham 2:1. And in Vadiga Parinama Shula, maybe the patient is not concentrating enough, and maybe I will give Arisham and I will give Ashwagandha Arisham. And now people are not able to sleep, and modern medicine is building sleep studios, but now connected to Vayoho Ratri Bhuktanam. When there is Agni Mandyam, there is less enzyme in the intestine, and the onset of the sleep is delayed. So they are not able to get sleep between 10 p.m. and 12 p.m. And there you give Deepana Pachana Aushadam. That is clear case of hypochondria, hypochloridria. And in the next, when there is, if it is a case of Pitta Pradhana Koshtam, the person sleeps immediately on going to bed, but the sleep is disturbed in the middle part of the night. There you give a Pitahara Aushadam, maybe Kayunya the coconut oil or Nilibringa the coconut oil on the head, even that will help. And if it is a case of Vadiga Koshtam, there is early morning loss of sleep. In early morning loss of sleep, there is no need for. Yeah, I will conclude.
Yeah.
And hypochloridria is a case of Kaphaja Agni Madhyam. Hyperchloridria is a case of Paitiga Agni Madhyam. And when there is loss of sleep in the early morning, it is there is nothing wrong with the enzyme. The patient is not eating enough. If there is loss of sleep at 4 a.m., give them a glass of milk with organic jaggery. You are giving pure Prithvi and Jala. The person will sleep up to 6:30 a.m. So if you can dig deep into the Sutrasthana, you will find that with or without technology, Ayurvedic science is very dynamic and sufficient. Thank you.
I think so. The Sar has told about Vayo Ahoratri Bhuktanam Tentam Diga Diga Krimat. That also signifies the charya that we have to follow, and the medicines also. And we were talking about the tamasic aspect and the sattvic aspect. So when we talk about the sattva, we also have to look about the ethical aspect. So let me ask Dr. Suhas sir about the ethical aspect of these telemedicines. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest challenge that we have is about the legal and the ethical aspects of its usage, because there is always chances that this data could be misused. There could be issues of the confidentiality of the data and how the data privacy and the accuracy can be maintained. There are definitely the guidelines which has been clearly mentioned. There are guidelines for the use of the data for the telemedicines, which need to be followed. Regarding any usage of the data generally is how you are using it in terms of the validity of this data, the reliability of the data, the efficiency of this data, and the practicality of this data. So these are the four components which need to be taken care. So validity is how accurately you are able to capture the information that is there and ensure that you have a clear format or clear algorithms to get these data. The reliability is about the reproducibility of this data, like how well you have the protocol or the SOPs laid, so that any XYZ that captures this data are able to capture according to the need. Then it's about the outcome, whether you are able to get a proper outcome using this particular data. And then how practicality or how usefulness it is there when you're using. So you need to follow all the ethical practices in terms of the confidentiality, professionalism, and see that you are able to give the utmost outcome to the patient in the best interest of the individuals. Thank you.
Thank you. This is the last 1 minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, actually, as this is very important because legal aspect is very important. Because in India, the telemedicine guidelines are published on 25th March 2020. Yes. After that, let me share one more information that was published by, this is a document that I could get. Mr. Nishit Desai Associates is a legal and tax counseling worldwide. He has published this document, Research Telemedicine in India, the Future of Medical Practice. And there are 2-3 aspects that are very important that he has shared. One is very important related to consent. Basically, when we are talking about taking the consent, now when the patient has approached the physician, the consent is known as implied consent because he has approached. That's why it is implied, there's no need. But when doctor is approaching, that time he is supposed to take the consent, it is mandatory. And there is it means patient is approaching, no need. Doctor is approaching, it is mandatory. Second, when a minor, basically we have a concept of assent. If it is less than 18 years, we have to take, and somebody who is adult, he or she has to accompany, then only through telemedicine you can provide the consultation. But sometimes what happens, that minor is not ready to talk in front of the parents. That's the issue. Because he wants to complain, but as the parents are there, through telemedicine also he will not open up, and these are the limitations for telemedicine. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very quickly summarizing, it was quite an interactive and a very, very eventful session, so to speak. Right from openness among the students community to be, sort of open to the technological interventions. Right from the technology panel talking about Shuchi, the need for so much of sadhana for a Vaidya. In fact, the classical panel also cited very clear red flags as to these are the things we should be on the lookout for, and these are something that the technology, when it evolves, should also be thinking about. So it was quite a very, I wouldn't say brainstorming, it was a well-directed, well-rounded discussion. That said, just to add on the ethics and data privacy point, because I was also the project lead for Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission with IIT Bombay. So we are also working on healthcare management and security protocols. There are a lot of regulators that the government of India is working on. Especially, we are also involving the Ayush Ministry so that we are trying to bring appropriate structures into place so that the Vaidya still they have their freedom at the same time, because there's a point that they may not even know that they are doing such thing, so that they're not taken for a ride. All that is being put in place. So that said, thank you so much for being so participative. Thank you so much for being so generous to all the questions that we had asked in however the way we asked. And if at all we did cut you short every now and then, please pardon us. It was only for the want of time. Thank you so much, everyone. We would now open the floor for felicitation of our guests.
Thank you very much, all the panelists. It was wonderful and a very informative session. Both the sides had high standard prospects of their panel, and hope delegates had an enlightening treat of knowledge as well. So thank you very much, all the panelists. And we would like to seek apology for any kind of discomfort you had during the session in name of Tadvidya Sambhasha. So to felicitate the panels, I humbly invite Vaidya Ravi Prasad ji to the stage, former executive chairman of the Himalaya Drug Company and founder of Almora Botanica UK Limited. Before felicitation, I invite Sir to share a few words of his experience in field of Ayurveda and Ayurveda conversations.
कैसे हैं आप? बहुत अच्छा लगा. I'm sorry, I don't know what to say. So I'll tell you a little bit about my journey. I'm not a Vaidya, so I really don't know much of what you all know. I started my career way back in the allopathic industry with Glaxo. And then I went abroad to do an MBA, came back, before which I also got into the administrative services. Was disillusioned, came back, joined Ranbaxy in Delhi, was very disillusioned with allopathy. And that's when I decided to take a break and went to Bangalore to meet some friends. Bangalore was where Himalaya was, Himalaya Drug Company then. And I called them, it was a cold call. I said, can I come and meet with you just to understand what they were doing, how they were making the products? How was this side of the fence compared to allopathy, which was the other side of the fence for me? So I took a auto rickshaw, went for 1.5 hours to the campus of Himalaya, met with the person who was running the company. We had a nice chat and I came back thinking nothing much of it. I was called a few weeks later and he said that the chairman of the company, who owns the company, would like to meet you. And I was going to be the first MBA if I ever worked for them. I'd also in the meanwhile got into a Swedish company and I was to go and work in Sweden. So I decided to keep that on hold and I took another auto rickshaw ride for 1.5 hours to go back to Himalaya. And I met with Mr. Manal, who was the founder's son and the then chairman of the company, still is the chairman of the company. And we had a chat for 2.5 hours. And I was really, I was a rolling mind and stone and body. I didn't know what to do. But it was really serendipity that took me to Himalaya and to Mr. Manal's cabin. I had this chat with him. I really enjoyed speaking to him. And he said that, I just read a book which said, if you meet a person who you think is going to be good for your company, take him, even if you don't have a job for him. And I thought that was very refreshing for me because I could do whatever I wanted. I would not be boxed into one little groove and be expected to do only what I was asked to do. So I decided that I will take the job. And then Mr. Manal said, there's a problem here. The problem is we don't have an office space for you. So can you work from my car garage where I don't park my car anymore? So I took that car garage as my first office and covered the floor with carpets from Kerala actually, because I wanted to hide the oil stains. Started the international division. This was in 1991, started the international division in 93. Started taking the products. We were then only a supplement company, Live 52, Abana, Bonisan, Jerry Ford, Cystone, those products. In 94, we were in Amsterdam and there was a seminar and I made a little presentation. And that's when I met Dr. Krishna Kumarji. And he asked me that when have you joined, started working in Ayurveda? I said, from 91. He said, you are with Himalaya. I said, yes. And he told me then, you're going to do a lot for Ayurveda, even though you're not going to be with me and working with me. And I said, oh, well, that's very prophetic. But his words, yes. So I thought that's something very nice coming from him. He was a visionary, absolutely. So took the company and Ayurveda out, took it over to 92 countries, actually. Started an office in Dubai, started an office in Sugarland, Houston, started an office in Singapore, started a manufacturing unit and an R&D center in Dubai as well. And that's when the unfortunate incident of the cross-prescription judgment happened in 1997, where two-judge bench of Supreme Court, Kuldeep Singh was one of the judges, said that cross-prescription should not be allowed. Any doctor trained in allopathy or Ayurveda or homeopathy, if practices medicine belonging to another system of medicine, it will be termed as quackery and should be punishable by law. Himalaya was then only 80% was coming from prescriptions written by allopathic doctors. And our business just completely collapsed overnight. So I went back to the chairman and said, you know, we have some personal care products in our R&D labs. Why don't we launch a personal care division? Because we are losing revenue every day. We, we might even make a loss this year. So he said, okay, start it. But don't call it Himalaya, because Himalaya has an equity about it because it's prescribed by doctors, and doctors might resent the fact that Himalaya is coming out with skincare products and hair care products. So then I thought I should rebrand the whole company and make it into a brand. It was earlier the Himalaya Drug Company mentioned on the side of the label. The brands were Live 52, Bonasan and those. So I made Himalaya as an umbrella brand. And that's when Dr. Ram Kumar mentioned this the other day, that I was very against calling it Himalaya Ayurveda because it was not Ayurveda in the purest sense of the word. It was Himalaya Herbals. And that's when I said, we have to have this distinction between between herbals and Ayurveda. And Himalaya Herbals was born in 1999 as a consequence of that discussion. 2000, I launched the personal care division, which was shampoos and all those products. And that really took off. Today, we are in all these countries. We are the global leaders in a few face care products, particularly Neem face wash. But this angst I had was, why can't Himalaya products or any Ayurvedic products for that matter be sold from the top shelf in the best stores in the world? We were being sold from bottom shelves in stores in areas like Southall, Leicester, in the UK, in London, or in the US as well, but never from the top tier stores. And I was very unhappy with that. So I went to Mr. Manal and I said, this rankles in my mind and more importantly in my soul, that Ayurveda is not getting the rightful place. But we were positioned as a mass brand, and that was a business decision. So we could not launch another brand which could be positioned differently. And that's when I decided to leave Himalaya and start a company which is now my company, which is incorporated in the UK. And we are present. The first store that has launched us was the store that refused me 8 times in taking Himalaya. And that's John Bell & Croydon in Marylebone that I was mentioning to you the other day. Now, of course, we are getting into Harrods, Selfridges, Bergdorf Goodman, Neiman Marcus, and all these stores in the world. The second phase is now starting, which is when I'm planning to start the supplement division. There are lots of hurdles. And that was something which I wrote to Dr. Ram Kumar again about addressing it, which is we need to really form a small task force, a very compact, small task force that can liaise with the government, prepare a white paper, which can then be presented to various high commissions in different countries. And all the high commissioners have been empowered by the current government to try and promote Ayurveda the way they have promoted yoga. Yoga has become an international phenomenon. Why can't Ayurveda also become that? I mean, the fount is the same. They both arose from Atharva Veda. And that's where I am. So that's where I thought I'm going to speak to some old friends and some new friends to try and see if we can form that little group here and let Ayush, let the government try and do something with Ayurveda globally. Because I think Ayurveda is too important and too deep a science to stay within the confines of India. And if that be my final destination in this journey, I'll be very happy to come towards the goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. It was an honor to have you with us today. I request Dr. Vaidya Vinay ji to honor Dr. Ram Prasad ji. Ravi Prasad, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Now, it's a great pleasure to honor each of the panelists for sharing with their knowledge, opinion, insights on telemedicine and digital supervision. We request Dr. Ravi Prasad, sir, to honor Vaidya Vinay Vhelankar, sir. Vaidya Krishna Prasad ji. Vaidya Ritesh Gujarathi. Thank you, sir. Next, Vaidya Ritesh Gujarathi ji.
You have to wait for the picture.
Thank you very much, sir. Vaidya Suhas Kumar Shetty. Thank you, sir. Next, Vaidya Pratap Chauhan ji. Thank you very much, sir. Next, Vaidya Aniruddha Joshi ji. Thank you, sir. Next, Vaidya Rama Prasad ji. Thank you, sir. Now, let's have a huge round of applause for Srimati Varalakshmi Venkatapathy, the session chair, for directing the session on the right track. Thank you, sir. Again, a big round of applause to Mr. Abhimanyu Abjith, who managed to sustain the virtues of session with his wonderful moderating.
Thank you all. If everyone on the stage with the session chair and moderator can pose for a photo, that will be very great. Thank you. So, dear audience, now we will adjourn for lunch. It's a little bit early, but our session also starts earlier. We will come back together at 1:45 for the second session and the last session of Ayurveda Conversations.